All right, all right. We on early. We on early. Do something a little early. Just do the usual editing. Hang tight. I'm going to edit a few things before we begin. All right. I think we are good. Everything is edited. All right. Infernal blessings. I'm going to get on here early. I ain't going to stay on for too long. Maybe about an hour and a half or so. Somewhere in that area. Due to the fact I got to get up early tomorrow, so I figure I'd come on a little bit earlier. But just to give it a minute or two, I'm just going to run through some, the announcements that I usually do, the rest of the classes for this month. All right, so we have 2 more events for the month of June. On Thursday, June 22nd, 8 p.m. Sith, Dark Side, and Alchemy. I think that's class 6 or 7. Sith, Dark Side, Alchemy, and Philosophy class. That will be on Thursday, June 22nd, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then the following week, we close out, actually 8 days after that, on the 30th of June at 8:15 p.m. Beelzebub, the Lord of Flies ritual will take place for Patreon members only. Now, there's 2 ways to get involved in the classes and the rituals. The best method, in my opinion, is to join Patreon Tier 3. Back this up a little bit. That is your best option. Becoming a Tier 3 Patreon member gives you access to all of the 3 classes that I do every month on there, sometimes more, once in a while more. And the monthly group ritual we do together as a group on Patreon. And that's everything I'm saying is at the bottom on the ticker there. You can go to patreon.com/Baniti, B-A-N-I-T-I. That's the official Primordial Chaos Patreon page. Again, join Tier 3. And that gives you access to all of the monthly classes and the monthly group ritual. All right. You can sign up for the classes individually, but as I've said before, that makes financially, it's a bit more than doing the monthly Tier 3 membership. But all Both ways are listed on all the social media platforms, which we are live on right now. We are live on Facebook on at Primordial Chaos, 2 words. We're live on Instagram, 1 word, Primordial Chaos 9. Support those platforms. All information for classes are on those platforms. And also here on the YouTube page, on the community section, is where you can stay abreast of all the classes and the events. So you can sign up individually. That information is there. But again, I recommend you check out the Patreon page, patreon.com /Baniti, BANITI. Tier 3 is the way to go. If you are interested in a spiritual reading or a consultation, various different readings I offer. Shadow work readings, which is, again, probably the best place to start if you're looking for a starting point, or you don't know what you should be doing right now, or you're not sure what direction you should be going in, or what kind of ritual work, etc. Shadow work will help you make that decision, right? Deity readings, which assist and give you the information of what deities or spirits or gods or goddesses or demons influence or walk with you. A reading to help you understand more about yourself, your nature, your personality, your character, and those influence will give you a telltale to that. Also offer Egyptian oracle readings, Santa Muerte and Spirit of the Dead readings, Clepothic demonic readings, various different ones, and others. So reach out if you're interested in a reading. The Egyptian oracle readings, as I said on the last video, they really seem to be taking off for whatever reason. But reach out. I'll send you the information. You see the email at the bottom of the page, khnum19 at gmail.com. You can send me an email. I'll send you a list of the type of readings with the prices that I offer. Consultations are a little different. I always got to stress the difference between the two. A spiritual consultation is not a reading. It's just what it is. It's a consultation to discuss anything you might want to talk about or anything specific you might have going on. People use it for a multitude of reasons. They might use it to get information on how to work this path. They might have a situation going on in their life that they want to focus on, or they just need guidance and information in a particular area, whether it's the path or their life, etc. Either or, shoot me an email. Please specify the time zone you're in and your location, because as I've said before, I deal with people not just in the United States, on all 3 coasts. I mean, all 3 time, 4 time zones, whatever it is. I also deal with a lot of people overseas, Europe, Africa. So it's very critical, time zone and your location, so I can book accordingly, okay? Also, as we're now in June, approaching July, I will have a set date, should be in the next week or so, for the 6th annual Journey of the Black Adept Conference down here in Hollywood, Florida. It's getting close. So we're getting now to the stages of where we are, going to start putting specific dates out, gathering the itinerary. So I will have that. So now as we move forward in the next couple of weeks, I will be giving you some detailed dates so people can prepare. I know it'll be at the same venue here at Cultural Expressions down in Hollywood, Florida, which is a great location. As I've said in the past, it's within walking distance of restaurants, shops, hotels, 10 minutes from the airport. People that have come over the years, some people Uber it. They don't even get a car. It's that close. You have access to everything. Close to the beach, minutes away from the beach. I know a lot of people that come from out of state don't get a chance to see the beach all the time. So it's a great location. It's a great venue. And it'll be a pretty much like a 3.5, 4-day event. We'll have the meet and greet on the Thursday, like we do every year, where everybody will just get together. We'll get a little food, kick it on that first night, and everybody can meet each other. And then Friday and Saturday, Friday we'll have the classes and the workshops from 9 to 4. We will come back Friday evening, and we will have a group ritual, and then each night closes out with a group dinner if you decide you want to do that and attend. Everybody usually does, but it's optional. Saturday, same itinerary. The only difference is on Saturday we do an outdoor working. So we have the classes and workshops from 9 to 4. We try to incorporate something on the beach every year. So we'll have again, the classes and the workshops all day Saturday, and then we'll have a working outdoor, more than likely on the beach at nighttime later that evening. And then Sunday, it closes out with a question and answer session, pretty much recapping the weekend, whatever you want to talk about, discuss questions on everything that we went over through the entire week. All right, so I have some set dates coming soon on that. Only thing that's what I'm waiting for is a travel schedule for my little guys' hockey. That's kind of what's holding it up. I just got to make sure there's nothing scheduled on the week that I do it. Hopefully that last weekend of October. But anyway, we'll have set dates. We'll have it all lined up. We'll have it all set up, and we'll get that going. That's basically it for the announcement. We went over classes. Again, the Patreon. Check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Tier 3 is the way to go. I would recommend that highly. Again, don't forget to hit the like button. Like button gets this algorithm of the channel out. As you know, the material and the topics I talk about, it's not a mainstream algorithm, so they do kind of hinder where it gets. But hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and let's get this information out there. So, what I kind of wanted to talk about tonight, well, late this afternoon, I should say. Again, I'm not going to be on here super long, maybe about an hour and a half. I am limited today. I have a bunch of stuff going on. I got to get out of here early in the morning, but I haven't been on. So I said, let me get on here now and kind of do something at least for an hour and a half or so. So title is Understanding Magick and the Occult. And I'm seeing in this area, as usual, people have misconceptions of what this is. So this will branch out into a few other areas, but we need to talk about this because we have a lot of people not grounded in or harmonized with their subjective consciousness and their objective consciousness. Okay. There's a disconnect there. Okay. Obviously, people are going to perceive magic and the occult and what it is based on their experience, right? Based on the knowledge that they have garnered and how they perceive it. Unfortunately, a lot of people's perception of it are pretty jacked the fuck up is a polite way to put it. What it's not, let's establish that. People don't realize when there's things going on in your life, when you got things you're working on, right? We all come on this path because our objective and our goal is to master ourselves, right? As I say, I created a philosophy around the 5 points of the pentagram of Baphomet, of mastering yourself on 5 points. Spiritually, which should always be first in my opinion, because spiritually involves having knowledge of self. Gaining the awareness through your study, your research, and having that awareness or that knowledge, which starts with self first, is the key. Because when you have knowledge of self, right, you're going to find a lot of things in the universe and the multiverses open up for you, right? Not in a spooky way, as you're putting in work to make that happen, but we have to make sure we're in alignment with how that process happens, okay? Mastering yourself emotionally. This is usually a huge issue for a lot of people. They struggle with this because they're not grounded. When I say grounded or rooted in their emotions, what I mean by that is they don't know how to facilitate them at the right moments and the right time, okay? When you are just raw, emotional, and reactive, that means you're not in control of your emotions. Okay. And I want to be clear. I'm saying this. I'm not saying nobody's perfect. All right. There's going to be times where you lose your cool, you get angry, etc. That's going to happen. What I am talking about is when it's happening all the time and you have no control over it. That's an issue. Okay. So that's, you know, one thing you have to check on yourself. Now I'm back up because 2 is actually mentally. Being in a sound mind, which relates to your emotions. So they're almost connected, 2 and 3. But mastering yourself mentally, part of that too is the continuation of the process of knowledge of self, right? Of studying, of learning. But being in a sound mind and a sound body is feeding the mind the right things, right? Taking care of your mental health, which will piggyback into the physical health, but taking care of the mind, which is the most important mechanism of your body, which actually is the conductor, actually activates the higher self or the personal daemon and keeps you linked into everything. When we mention things like the universe or universes or multiverses, and keeps those roadways of consciousness and awareness open. Okay, so we have to make sure we're in sound mind, right? Mental health is important, right? And a book I will always recommend, and I've said many times before, and I've had him on a guest on my show a few times, I would recommend Dr. Edward Bruce Bynum's book, Dark Light Consciousness. As you know, Dr. Bynum he's been initiated in many different spiritual systems. He's traveled the world. He is a certified medical psychologist who works out of UMass to this day. And one thing that I think is great in his work that I don't really see a lot of people touching on, he deals with the medical psychological aspect of spirituality, what we need to be aware of, the ups and downs of it, and the dangers of it, right? It's dangerous for people to be practicing and doing certain rituals and opening up different portholes and gateways to entities and spirits and deities if they're in a fucked up state of mind, because it doesn't work. Okay. And if you're dealing with certain issues, I get emails so many times over the years that people have known conditions. There is a process. I'm not going to sit here and ramble on. One, I'm not a medical doctor, so I'm not giving you medical advice. But there are methods of approach and how to deal with that. And each case is different. Okay. Each case is different. And each individual has to be addressed accordingly. Right. There's no one particular method when it comes to things like that. Now, dangers such as, and Dr. Bynum talks about it in the book, bipolar disorder, depression, anxiety, any of those things that affect you on a mental level do and affect your spiritual path in some shape, form, or fashion. So mental health is critical. It can't be ignored. It can't be negated. And the deep thing is some people don't know they're dealing with it, right? Or they're in denial that they're dealing with it. Sometimes, you know, a lot of people around that individual can see it, but sometimes when somebody's so far gone, they just sometimes can't see it. All right. Now, physically, right, as I said before, it is important you take care of yourself to the best of your ability physically, right? I ain't going to get into the whole diet thing. We've talked about that. As I said before, your diet should be based on your blood type. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. Okay. There's not one particular diet that works from everybody. If you understand your blood type and you trace your blood type and origins back, you will understand the type of foods that are conducive to that blood type. Not everybody is supposed to be a vegetarian. If you are and you can, that's great. Knock yourself out. But sometimes people promote dietary habits like it's some type of religion or spirituality. Okay. So educate yourself on your blood type when it comes to diet. Again, I can only talk about my blood type. O positive or O blood people tend to need higher levels of protein. You're going to find more O positive people or O blood types are protein or meat eaters. I'm not saying all. I'm not saying there's no O positive or O blood type vegetarian, but you're going to find 9 out of 10 times it doesn't work for their blood type. A type blood people are a little bit more passive. They're more plant eating. And when you research, you'll see this. So your blood type is critical. I know everybody likes to do these diets that are out now, and the spiritual diets and Dr. Sebi and this and that. But you got to understand Dr. Sebi's diet is a tropical diet that's Caribbean based. You have to be close to the equator and have that in your blood. That would work down here in South Florida for people that are in alignment with it, but it may not work in colder climates. I'm not saying it can't work, so I just want to be clear on that. What I am saying is anytime you're taking a drastic dietary change, I mean drastic, you should always get a full printout through a checkup of what you got going on in your body, lack of or excess of, because you need to know the different vitamins and minerals in that report that you might be lacking or have too much of, because it can create issues. Sometimes people go on these extreme diets and they don't get that information, and then things can happen. Exercise, let's shift it. I want to get into the whole diet thing. I've addressed that many times. Exercise, I find this to be an issue with people. And as I said before, you don't need to, I'm not saying you need to live in the gym, right? But you need to be exercising 3 to 4 times a week for a minimum of 30 minutes or more. I don't care if it's taking a brisk walk. I don't care if it's lifting weights, doing cardio, kickboxing, whatever it might be. You have to have consistent activity, because exercise will reduce a lot of the stress and anxiety that you're dealing with. It will help your diet. Weightlifting, you burn calories even when you're not weightlifting, right? The body still goes into the process of burning off calories. So do the research, find the exercise that's going to work for you. Now, I understand everybody has different situations and conditions, right? So adjust accordingly. I know people might be dealing with issues, physical ailments or medical issues that maybe you can't do a high level of active exercise, but figure out what you can do, okay, to stay active in accordance to what you may have going on, okay? So all of those things are important, right? And then the last one, financially, and it's not last because it's the least important. You will find out if you're doing those previous 4 points of self-mastery, the financial thing, there's opportunities there. The doors are open. As I've said before, we shouldn't be on this path and piss broke. All right. And I want to make this clear, just so people don't take that the wrong way. I'm not talking about sometimes life deals you circumstances, right? Sometimes people are put into situations. Things happen beyond the individual's control as far as situations arise in the moment. I get that. But I'm saying the overall picture. The problem that I see in a lot of these conscious movements and conscious groups, right? And it's not to be judgmental. And I'm saying this going back years being a part of it, but I still see it today, is a lot of people are not doing what they should be doing financially. Okay. This knowledge it reaps success, right? When we talk about a path to self-mastery, mastering yourself financially is part of that process. Don't fall for the bullshit with people over the years that say, oh, don't be in the world and don't be materialistic and don't value money. That's don't listen to that shit. Because 9 out of 10 times the person saying that is usually in a bad place in their life. And it's that old saying, misery wants company. You should be striving to be as successful as you can in this mundane world, as successful as you have the ability to be. I'm not saying money fixes and cures all problems, but it will cure 70% or more of it. Okay, don't let nobody bullshit you. But that's what happens. Having money or having nice things in a lot of spiritual systems, it's looked down upon, which I don't understand. It's like if you value anything in regards to materialistic possessions, or don't be in the world. This world's an illusion. And all that spooky living in the clouds bullshit. Okay, I get that concept when you say it's an illusion, but to what extent? Because I've tested people to this, and I've done this. You guys heard me say this here live. I've done it in person with people, and I've said, "You believe this world's a complete illusion, right? It's not real. Yeah, it's not real. This is reality. I'm controlling this illusion. Okay, so you won't feel no pain if I punch you dead in your nose, or clock you dead in your jaw, knock you the fuck out. You won't feel it because it's just an illusion. It's not a reality. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that to understand the fine line between what illusion and reality is. I keep telling you guys are existing side by side with parallel universes. You can dip in and out of these parallel universes various ways, through your magic, through your rituals, through your meditations, through astral traveling, etc. I get that. But there is an aspect of being grounded in this reality, because if you go to that extreme, if again, if you took a knife and dug into your arm or your hand, you'll bleed blood. Is that an illusion? And if you do, then chop yourself up. You're not going to feel the pain. So the pain isn't real. So what you would feel in that moment, where is that feeling, has its point of origin? Again, I'm only bringing this stuff up because some people are out there in the clouds and they don't have a fine harmonization between their subjective consciousness and their objective consciousness. It's a problem. It's a huge problem. Okay. And that's magic isn't poof, snap your fingers, Harry Potter, wave a wand, and I'm going to fix everything. Okay. It's not about just sitting around meditating and levitating and you know, this world's an illusion and I'm still living in my mom's basement, but I'm a guru master. I could levitate, but I ain't got a pot to piss in. I ain't got a car to drive. I don't have the ability to go nowhere. I can't even pull $50 out of my pocket, but I want to give people advice on how to be a master. I don't take advice from unsuccessful people. I humble myself to those who are more successful than me because I can learn something from those people. But you ain't going to be coughing in my face telling me you're sick all the time, but you want to give me, take this herb and this herb does this and this heals that and that does. No, it doesn't work like that. Okay. That's not how this works. Okay. You have to have that harmony and understand. Yes, I get that concept that certain aspects of this existence are an illusion and they can alter our reality through systems of indoctrination and programming, no doubt. I'm not saying any of that isn't real, but what I'm saying is some people go too much to the extreme to one side as opposed to the other. Because what I find out is there's some people who just stay out in the clouds and they're spooky as hell and everything is spiritual and they always got some spiritual explanation for everything. They always got excuses for their failures and they always got some crutches to lean on. Okay. That's not good. And then it goes the other side. Then there's some people who just don't have any spiritual power at all, that they are chasing mundane things all the time. That could be money and materialistic things, and to the point where they're killing, robbing, and stealing, and backstabbing, and doing all types of shady shit. That's a whole nother vibrational frequency, right? You've got to find somewhere in the middle there. You need to develop a system on your path of mastery where you are successful and you control this mundane existence and you have the ability to do what you want and move how you see fit. You need to move, and you also need to make sure you're on top of your spiritual game. Okay. Now, how you come up with that is going to again vary from individual to individual. Okay. That's going to vary because everybody's situation is different. Everybody's situation is unique. Everybody has to figure out their niche. Now, there's another thing you must understand in this journey. You could read 1 million books. Okay. You could talk to 1 million elders or teachers. There's going to be certain things on this path you're going to have to figure out for yourself. Because I see this happen with a lot of people. They get frustrated because they want everybody to answer every little personal thing that they got going on. It doesn't work like that. You're not going to get all the answers in a book. You're not going to get all the answers from a person. A lot of those hidden answers and those mysteries are uncovered, and those answers to some of those things that you're struggling with, that you need clarification on, etc., it comes through your ritual work. This is why we perform magic, and this is why we do rituals that are geared towards addressing our needs. Not just doing shit to be doing it. Oh, I like Lilith, so I'm just going to go do a Lilith ritual. What is the purpose and the intent of the ritual? Oh, I like Samael. I read so much about it. So yeah, I'm just so captivated by it. But be careful. Samael can rip you apart from inside out if you don't know what you're doing. That is a very deconstructive, reconstructive energy to work with. And if there's not purpose and intent, you're playing with dynamite. Oh, I want to, I want to do a ritual with Kali because I want to get tons of pussy and penis. I mean, it doesn't work like this, people. Trust me. I know people will promote it as that, but you're going to have to find your niche. What I wanted to run through super fast, and I've gone through this small section before out of the book, Wrathful Chaos, the 5 books of satanic philosophy. Yes, we've been through this many times over the years. It's a hard book to get in hard copy. You can get, it is available from, and you got to keep checking because it changes. I know Abe Books and some other booksellers had it. It's a little very pricey because there's not many in print. So I want to get that part out of the way. Scribd or Scribe doesn't have it in its entirety on there. There is a free portion of it on Scribd. I know somebody found a PDF. I don't know. It's in a previous class. I don't know if that person is here. There is a place you can buy it. They had the website up. Be careful though. There was a couple that people had sent over and it wasn't the entire book. But there was one person I remember found a website where you can download and pay. It wasn't even that expensive for a PDF version of it. So you got to search. I just want to put that out there because I know people ask, what's the book? What's this and that? But there's a short section in here on page 38 that I love. And I think, in my opinion, out of all the books I've read over the years, if I had to find a section describing what magic and the occult is, I think this nails it on the head across the board. Okay. And it takes the spookism out of a lot of the shit that's out there. Okay. So I'm gonna run through this. I've done this like 2 or 3 times in the past. I've gone a little, I'm just gonna go through the small portion of it, but I think this needs to be touched on again because it's very critical and it's very important. So here we go. Magic is the science of understanding oneself and one's conditions. See that? So why do we practice magic? So we can understand ourselves, number one. This is why I say knowledge of self is the most important thing on that first point, on the 5 points of self-mastery, and one's conditions. So it's saying you got to understand yourself and the conditions in your life that's going on around you. You know why that's so critical and important? Because your conditions are going to determine the type of magic and rituals you should be carrying out. It's that simple. This way you're not doing random shit just to be doing it. I'm going to do it for this, or I'm going to do it for that, or I'm just going to do it for the thrill seek of it. That's not the type of magic that I teach. I teach that you should be addressing your needs through your ritual and spiritual work. Hey, look, there's other things you want to do, knock yourself out. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is the only approach, but it should be the foundation of your approach, is what I'm saying. All right? So it is the science of understanding oneself and one's conditions. It is the art of applying that understanding in action. Okay? So you can read all the fucking books you want. You can regurgitate all the information you want. You can sit there, sound deep and heavy in front of people. You can sit here and say, I got this book and that book, and I know this person and that person, and I'm a master of this organization. I'm a master mason over here. I'm this, I'm that. I'm Grand Poobah, whoever the fuck you are. All that shit is irrelevant if you can't apply that knowledge and see it as a living manifestation of results in your everyday life. Okay? If you can't apply that understanding and put it into action, all you got is a bunch of book knowledge. And there's a lot of motherfuckers out there. We got a lot of Google scholars who memorize shit off of Google, or they can regurgitate shit from books. They read stuff. They can just, repeat shit. I mean, look, I'm going to keep it real. There's a lot of people that just repeat shit from books on YouTube and pretend like it's their own shit. I don't do that. I give you the book. If I'm using a book in any session, you can go back to any of my videos from day one. I'm giving you the source material. Okay? Because a person that's doing that's got a serious ego problem because they don't want you to find the book, because then you might have a higher understanding that he or she might have broke down, and then it makes them look foolish, and they also do it to make themselves look like they know something that they think you don't know. Okay? So you can read all the books in the world and hide books and tell people you ain't got this book, and then, oh, maybe they ain't got this book. I can find something in here that sounds deep and say it in a group, and it's going to make me look heavy because they don't have the book. People do this shit. The funny thing is, look, I ain't saying I got every book. You know how many times I've been in conversation, I just keep my mouth shut, and I listen to somebody play themselves, and they're saying, I pretend like I don't even have the book. I don't even know what they're talking about, but I know they're getting it from a book. But that's how this goes. So they're not doing what it says here, right? So all this knowledge from all the classes we do, whether it's here, whether classes you watch on other platforms, whether you've taken seminars, workshops, and class, whatever, if you can't apply any of that shit, all you got is a lot of information stored in your head. That's it. What I do on the Patreon page and what I do in the beginning stages here on the YouTube channels, I show you how to apply that, right? The problem is you got a lot of other people out here, even in their private classes, I get the feedback, they're not showing you any techniques of how to work magic. They're not showing you how to get results other than sitting down and listening to a lecture for hours. Where's the techniques? Where's the practices? Where's the rituals? Where's the science that I could use to apply to get the results so I can better myself? I don't need to sit and listen to a feel-good lecture for hours. Some people still need that though, because then they walk out of it feeling all good and their chest is out and they got all this pride. Then guess what? As soon as that, it's like a crackhead having a high. As soon as the high wears off, they go back to their shitty, mundane existence, and reality kicks back in on their ass. Okay? We're living in a day and time, we ain't got time for feel-good lectures anymore. If you want your ego stroked and you want to be told how great you are, or, oh, you're a son of Shango, or yes, you're a daughter of Oshun, and if you need all that fluffing the ego up, then go to one of those paths and get your ego stroked. Okay? See, the reality is why people don't survive on this path is you're going to be told the reality, and you're going to uncover a lot of things about yourself through your shadow work. Okay? That's going to be tough for you to deal with. Yes, there's great things you find out. There's great aspects of yourself. You have great gifts, great skills, great qualities, many blessings from the spirits and the gods, and you just strengthen those. So there's many good things too when it comes to shadow work, right? Contrary to belief, because sometimes shadow work can be promoted as some very dreadful thing, but there is a dark, intense, critical side of it that is not easy. And it's that real hidden self that we've been either suppressing or ignoring that we don't want to face knowingly and unknowingly. And we find out things about our character, our nature, and our personality that become hard to swallow because we thought we were the shit. And this is going to show you the flip side of that. Okay? So the reality is, if you're looking to hear how great you are and how special you are, because that's the one thing I find out with readings. And I tell people, all right, I can only speak on my methods and my practices. There's a lot of bullshit out there. People go and get these readings because they want their ego stroked. And again, they want to be told how great and special they are. People come to me for readings, sometimes with that preconceived notion, and some serious trauma in their past comes up that they weren't embracing for, or something about their history comes up. Sexual abuse, child abuse, a tragic incident that they've been burying deep in the recesses of their mind, or character flaws that they need to work on. Because when you are invoking the spirits through divination, they're going to tell you what's going on in your life at that time, in that moment, and what's going on around you. Not you're special. You. Hold on. Give me 1 second, people. All right, sorry about that. So yeah, you're not going to hear sometimes in those readings and divination sessions how special you are. I know people want to hear it. They come and they want to hear in the reading how special they are and what I was in the past. I mean, people want what was I in a past life? Well, why don't you master this life first before you worry about what you was in a past life? Because when you start to master this life first, that awareness will naturally come. This is the type of shit people focused on. I have people contact me for, can you channel entertainers that passed on? I don't give a fuck to be honest with you. No offense. For what reason? To feed your ego? Can you? I remember. Look, I gotta laugh. I'm sorry. It's funny to me. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it or downplay it. To me, to be so. Look, you might have a difference of opinion on it. To me, there's so many more important things a person should be focusing on. A person, we got a lot of fucked up shit about ourselves we need to work on than to be worrying about channeling dead entertainers and dead actors and rappers and all this other shit. Can you guys hear me? I don't know. Can you guys hear me? The sound. All right, just somebody type in. Can you hear it loud and clear? Okay, yeah. I had muted it for a second just to. I was talking to my wife. I want you guys to hear my dinner order. I don't think it was important for you guys to hear my dinner order. Just sound checking, right? Can you hear it? Somebody else? Good. All right. Yeah, it was muted. I actually intentionally muted it. All right, but it should be good now. All right. So yeah, like I said, look, I don't want nobody to take that the wrong way. But to me, if you come to me and ask me now, I'm going to ask you, how's your life going right now? When we got so many other personal issues we need to address, psychological traumas from our childhood, mental and emotional issues that we're not dealing with, relationship issues, family issues, money problems. We need to get our life in order. What the fuck? Channeling a deceased rapper isn't going to help you with that. It's a fantasy and a delusion you've created in your mind. Okay? Don't take offense to it. I'm not saying anybody here is. Maybe somebody sees the recording later. I just got to call it for what it is. My interest is not in those areas. See, to me, those are more things that feed off of people's egos, right? It just serves no purpose, all right? So putting that into action and applying that understanding. Okay, in this one statement, we may derive several instructions for good learning, a few of them being, now I just want to, the last thing I want to do is just go through the 7 statements. That's all I wanted to do with this. Magic is a science and must be approached scientifically. I've said this before. There's a term we use on this path. It's a spiritual science. So it's a combination of spirituality, which not all spirituality and experiences is going to be able to be defined and explained by that science, but science is also incorporated in it. So now this creates a problem in some circles because what I see in certain conscious arenas or forums is when somebody can't explain something or they're not accepting it as valid, we're quick to use the term, oh, that's pseudo. And in some cases, yes, it does apply, especially when it's basic common sense shit. But a lot of things that exist outside of person, place, and thing, a 3-dimensional existence, right? Which happens on the spiritual plane, not all of it is going to be able to be explained to the liking of each individual. Yes, are some of these spirit experiences subjective in nature? Yes, they are. Okay, because all of your spiritual experiences are subjective in nature. But when you make contact with the subjective realm, okay, and you are now vibrating on a level outside of 3-dimensional person, place, or thing, that is your own personal spiritual experience, is why it can't be explained to a group or to the masses. It's why it can't be found in a book. Well, what source is that? People, where'd you get that? What book? Well, at some point, wasn't the shit people put in books at some point before the masses accepted it as a whole? Wasn't that considered pseudo at some point? Think about that for a moment. People like to go to these books and these authors and use the source, and this author said that, but at some point their shit was considered pseudo too. Nobody talks about that though. Okay? And I say all that to say that's because everything that you experience spiritually isn't going to have some type of explanation or source in a book. So we have to understand that. But it is a spiritual science and must be approached scientifically. This does not mean that we must be narrow-minded, as unfortunately many of you will associate the scientific with the fanatical skeptic, right? Then we got that person who's skeptical of everything, right? Now, it doesn't mean accept everything, right? Take that fine line in between. Okay, you should question things. You should ask questions when you're unsure. You should do further research when you're trying to make sense of things. You shouldn't just blindly accept everything somebody throws at you. I don't care who it is, myself or anybody else. I always encourage people to seek further, come to these conclusions yourself. And sometimes it may never make sense to you. And you may never be able to come to the realization of certain things in your spiritual path being accepted as a reality. And guess what? That's okay, right? Because the only thing that is real is you and everything that proceeds from you. And that includes your genealogy as far back as you can trace and collect from those alive, going way back. And everything you've accepted as a reality within your existence is real to you. But you must also understand, in that understanding, that is not going to be real to everybody else outside of that. This is what they mean when they say we all are our own existing universes that make up these multiverses. When you look at yourself as an entity of consciousness, along with all these other entities of consciousness that are existing on these many planes of existence, this is what this means. But sometimes worlds collide, right, as they say. And until worlds collide, the existence of those worlds are not a reality to an individual. So within your universe, this is why I used to teach something years ago talking about through Sufi mysticism, being what they call in Sufism like a el-Kubt, right? And el-Kubt means the center, right? In Arabic, in the center. And I always say you should be a el-Kubt in the center of your universe, and everything should be evolving around you. When you're off your axis or you're not on your center, everything isn't evolving around you anymore. And what happens is it's easy for you to be fooled, indoctrinated, taken off your path. It's easy for you to be distracted because you're not centered. You're off your axis now, right? When you are a center and you are the center of everything in your personal existence, you are controlling everything. That's what it means when it says the science of the circle and the square. If you draw a circle, right, the only person that knows where the circle begins and ends is the person that drew the circle. Because if I drew a circle on a piece of paper and I told you to turn around, and I drew the circle and then I told you to turn back around, and I said to you, show me where the circle begins and ends, you wouldn't be able to do it. What that represents is you as the creator, and you are a creator and a destroyer, and it's happening at all times, consciously and unconsciously. You are building and destroying universes at all times. You've just forgotten to a certain degree. You accept and you build things up and create within your world and your domain that you want, that you accept as a reality or that you willingly bring in. And you also eliminate and destroy things in your path in your life that you see fit that are not productive for you or need to be destroyed. So in essence, you have always been the creator. You are the builder and the destroyer simultaneously. And when you're working with these deities to assist you in that process, you're unlocking the psychic awareness of that energy within your subconscious mind. Even if you give these deities shape and form, where people go, isn't everything mental? People fuck that one up too all the time because they don't understand it. Yes, all things have its origin and all things have its root and beginning in the mind. Yes. But you are creating manifestations of deities and spirits in your ritual work. I did a ritual and I saw Kali, and you described Kali, and she took on an anthropomorphic image. Where did that image come from? It's the image you created in your subconscious mind by all the images you looked upon Kali. All the statues, the drawings, the illustrations in books. And then when your imagination drifted off by that data that you collected in your subconscious mind, you now created your Kali. And then you saw your Kali in your meditation and your vision. It didn't come from Spookyville, somewhere out there in the universe. It didn't come from just you created it in the power of your subconscious mind. Okay? You built that. Same thing if you had visions of Lucifer, Samael, Lilith, right? People don't understand. They can manifest in many shapes and forms. There's not one Lilith. There's not one Samael or Lucifer or Belial or Kali. Right? How many people say, well, Lilith alone? Oh, I see Lilith. Oh, sometimes I see her. She comes. She has long red hair and blue eyes. Some say she has long, dark black hair. She's pale. Some say she kind of looks mulatto. Some see her as African. I see her between a mulatto and an African, and she's vampiric in nature. And she has a really long, like, I guess you could say locks, or braids, if that's how you're going to describe it. Why am I seeing my Lilith like that? I know. And why is somebody else seeing Lilith with red hair and looking maybe more European or whatever? You want to know why? Because of everything stored in that individual's subconscious mind. It's not a coincidence. Because remember, if these are beings of energy that can take on any form, they can appear looking like anything and anybody. They could have any hair color, skin from very pale or light to dark. They could have facial features looking European or looking very African in nature. See, you're getting caught up. Some people are getting caught up in the physicality of it, when really that shit don't really even exist when you connect with the spirit on the right level. That's something you need to see, because it creates a certain activation within your consciousness, because that's something for you to see here in your mundane existence. Because if you've ever astral traveled and vibrated outside of three-dimensional existence, you don't see this, but there's a sight, there's a vision, there's an awareness, and that level of being conscious and aware exists. It's still there. But the physical shell, it's not that type of existence. You must understand that when you're seeing that stuff here, that's tangible shit that you need to see here, because it's what's been programmed in you. Okay? Through religion, because they had to paint the picture of God. They just couldn't leave the shit alone. They got the old man, the old man in the Sistine Chapel, the old man, laying butt naked. It's really weird, and he's got his finger out, and then Jesus coming the other way, and he's all this Sistine Chapel shit. And well, I got news for you. A lot of those images, I mentioned this years ago. I talked to a priest years ago in Macon, Georgia. I'll never forget. I visited, it's one of the oldest Catholic churches in the United States of America, St. Joseph's Catholic Church in Macon, Georgia. It caught my attention. They do tours. It's a very Gothic, old style church. I love those Gothic, old style Catholic churches because they have a certain feel or energy to them. It's not like these modern day churches ain't got the same energy. So they were doing a tour. I took the tour because we were passing through. I took the tour. And they walk you through the whole church, tell you the history of the church, this and that. And if you look on a lot of these churches, the stained glass windows, on the bottom, they usually have who donated that stained glass window to the church. So I had asked the person, well, I asked the priest, I said, how did they come up with the images of those people on these stained glass windows? And he said, these were the people that donated the money to the church. These were actual people that lived. It's not that they're saying... It's not that they're saying that the prophets and the people of the Bible look like that. This is why you go to white churches, you're going to see white images of prophets and Jesus and God, because they took the faces of actual people when they drew these things, right? Same thing with the Sistine Chapel and Michelangelo. And you go to Rome. Yes, it's fascinating if you've ever been there, the Vatican, and seeing it. I'd recommend it. But know what you're looking at is what I'm trying to tell you, okay? It's a byproduct of the environment. Okay. That's it. Don't get caught up in that shit. But now we still got a bunch of ignorant people on the internet debating over religion all the time. Oh, you know, the Hebrews are this and that, and the ancient Egyptians and the Kemet. First of all, anybody that's using the word Egypt or Kemet knows nothing about Egypt. That's number one. Let's establish that. Okay. You wouldn't use those words if you really claimed you knew anything about Egypt. Okay. Why am I saying that? First of all, the word Egypt comes from the Greek word Egyptos. How did that word come into being? When you are saying the word Egypt, you are automatically, whether you are aware of it or not, connecting with the last 46 dynasties of ancient Egypt, which were the Hyksos. The Hyksos were the Heka Kasut, the shepherd kings. They were the Indo-Aryan Greeks and Romans that were of mixed stock that came into Egypt and mixed with the original pre-dynastic Egyptians, right? So they were referred to as Egyptos because their face and their skin was pale, the sun would burn their face. So it was called the land of burnt faces, Egyptios or Egyptian or Egypt. So that was a term that came very later on. So it definitely was not referred to as ancient Egypt. We were talking a little bit about this last night in the African witchcraft and sorcery class. It was a really good class. I don't know if there's anybody in here on Patreon. I had Tata Nahisi with us last night doing the class. We're doing a series on Patreon on a lot of this stuff. And I mean, the brother got 40 years. I mean, an amazing elder that knows his shit. And I bring him on with me when we do the African witchcraft, sorcery, and magic classes. We're up to 8 in that series. I would recommend you guys definitely check that out. We did a class last night, 4 hours. It was a 4-hour class packed with information on Ifa, Palo Mayembe, all African spirituality. We cover that in that class. I don't want to divert from what we're talking about now. But if you are in here and you are a Patreon member, I did send the notification out that the recording is up. Check it out. And that's why I encourage a lot of people to join the Patreon, not just because I'm trying to encourage you to join and like it's a money thing, but I'm also encourage you because you have access to all the archived classes that go back from day one. So if you can't make it there live, don't worry about it. It's not everybody can make it. We got like 70, 80 people on Patreon. They all don't make the class, but that's why everything is recorded and uploaded and archived. So you can go back and watch the classes when it's convenient for you if you can't make it live. Okay. Now, if you can make it live, come live because it's a great experience. But sometimes your schedule, your work, we get it. You can't make it live. But you can go back and watch them at due time. But you wouldn't refer to it as Egypt because of that reason. It wouldn't be Kemet because has its root in a Hebrew word. When you're saying Kemet or Ham, you're tracing that word back to the prophet Ham of the book of Genesis. And Ham or Ham just means black. That's why they say the land of the black faces, or the land of the blacks, Kemet, the black land, right? So it definitely wasn't called Kemet. It definitely wasn't called Egypt, okay? And I know some people will throw out Alki Bulan. You go back to more terms like Nubia, Tah, Ma, Re. This goes back to the elements. These were the names prior to the Hyksos dynasties, and there's more. There's a few you can pull up, right? It even goes deeper because when you look, what we're calling Egypt today has its origin in a place or a land called Nubia, which would actually be known as Aswan or Sudan today, okay? If anybody has ever been to Egypt, if anybody's ever taken the Nile tour, it's that tour. They take you on the boat. They go all the way up into Aswan and Sudan, and they will tell you, and you will see it with your own eyes, there are more pyramids in Sudan and Aswan and Nubia than there are in Egypt, okay? And you will find this connection that the original descendants were from that area, the original pre-dynastic Egyptians. And we talked about this last night a little bit. You take a deity such as called Bes, right? Bes is a pre-dynastic Egyptian deity, right? You find the origin of Bes in Nubia, not in Egypt. But when they migrated and they came into what we call Egypt today, they brought some of those deities or gods with them. Bes is a pygmy deity. And if you research, I know everybody loves to connect with Egypt because it's convenient and it's glorious and glamorous. But my question is, people make the mistake and say civilization started in Egypt. That is not true. Egypt was the first great established civilization that people acknowledge. Yes, that's true. But who were the people that existed along the Nile area before the pyramids were even built? Prior to there was anything what we're calling Egyptian culture, a civilization. Namuses, aprons, royal garb, any of those things. Pyramids. Who were the people that occupied, excuse me, the Nile region? If you go back and do your research, you'll see they were referred to as Neolithics, right? Those tribes, the Pygmies and the Watusi tribes, right, were two of those tribes that were considered Neolithic tribes, right? And when you look at the deity Bes, Bes is a short pygmy deity, right? I'm sure if you've studied Egypt, you're very familiar with who Bes is. That's confirmation, or some confirmation. Excuse me, I got this tickle in my throat. Nobody wants to connect with any of those primitive tribes, any of those tribes that existed prior to quote unquote what we're calling Egypt today. All you got to do is some simple research and you'll come to that conclusion. Yeah, just caught this out of the corner of my eye. Cushite, there's another term. And you can find that in the 2nd chapter of Genesis when it mentions Ethiopia and Cush. And it actually points out in that passage that, which is mind fucking boggling to me, where God in the middle of talking stops to acknowledge the plentifulness of the gold in Ethiopia, which I always found that fucking entertaining, right? That's a whole nother story. I don't even want to get into that right now. But my point is, we have to understand, as great as Egypt is, and it is great, it is one of the most advanced, and all the knowledge that Egypt has produced, I'm not disputing that. But this first shit, we got to stop this first shit, because if you really want to get technical, that could be proven wrong. Okay? Because there were inhabitants of that region before any pyramids being built by anybody. Okay? Let's talk. We got to get back to that. But my point being is, nobody would use those terms for what we're calling that land. Now, I don't want to divert from what we're talking about, but a lot of those things we do talk about in the African witchcraft, magic, and sorcery class. Again, we cover all the systems: Kimbanda, Palo Mayembe, Ifa, the modern day ones like Santeria, right? And myself and Brother Tata, we were initiated in those paths going back years. So we're not talking just out of our mouths, we're talking from experience. Because one thing I find, no matter still how many people still come on this path of the occult, we have a lot of people that can't leave that traditional stuff alone. And we're showing people how you could still work with it in a non-traditional way. Now, contrary, the traditionalists will say, oh no, you can't do that. Of course they're going to say that, because they're coming from their methodology and practice. But it's a very informative class if you're interested in those topics. And I know it's a big topic. Everybody's always interested. I mean, we go into our personal experiences with Paulo. We break certain things down, things to watch out for, be careful of. Because how many people hit me up all the time? Oh, should I get initiated? I don't tell people they should or should not. That's personal. But what I will tell you is, and we were drawing this point home hard last night. If you take or make the intent to be initiated in any traditional system, you must follow the rules. It's just the way it is. So you can't go in there thinking you're going to do what you want to do and you're going to do it your way. No, you go into a traditional house of Ifa or Palo, you must follow the rules and regulations of that house. It's just the way it is when you're doing it from a traditional perspective. And this is why I don't recommend it. And we show people say, can you work with Palo spirits without going through the full, because there's blood sacrifice involved in it, and some people don't like working with blood or sacrificing animals. Well, then it's definitely not a path for you, because you definitely won't be able to do it. You're not going to be able to get around that at all. So if blood sacrifice is not your thing, you definitely cannot go into any of those systems on a traditional level. It's part of the path. Okay. We brought up last night, I was bringing up an incident where I had a vegetarian contact me and wanted to know how they can get initiated in Palo, but not deal with the blood sacrifice. You can't, not in traditional Palo, because in some of those rituals, not only are the sacrificial offerings offered, but some of the animals that are sacrificed are cooked and prepared, and you as the initiate have to eat them. I've had to do that several times. Okay. And you may not be willing to do that if you're quote unquote vegan or vegetarian. Look, it's just the way it is from a traditional perspective. I'm just saying, if we're talking traditionally, this is why I don't recommend it. I'm trying to show people how you get past that stuff, right? And there is a way to get past it. Again, the traditionalist isn't going to agree with it, and they're going to tell you you can't do that, but I can tell you otherwise you can. Okay, and you can get results. But anyway, don't want to get sidetracked. Check that class out. We go through a lot of those things. All right, so as I was saying here in that first step, be skeptical, ask questions, don't just accept anything on face value. Okay, and reason these things out, right? So don't be a fanatical skeptic that's an asinine type of person. A scientist, whether of the natural sciences or the occult, must approach their experiments with neither the doubt of the skeptic nor the blind faith of the believer. So what is it saying here? Take the road in between. And as a spiritual scientist and occult practitioner, when you're doing your rituals, those technically are your experiments, because guess what? Some of your rituals are going to work and some of them are not. They're going to fail. But only through those experimentations are you going to get the understanding that you need in order to grow. So I want you guys now to approach your spiritual path and use that mindset. You are the scientist carrying out experiments. Okay? And like a scientist does, he takes notes and data, and take notes and awareness of what works for you and what don't. Because anybody that tells you every magical ritual you're going to carry out is going to work, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Because anytime through experiments, there's going to be trial and error. But you learn. But that's how you master yourself. So you must go into your work not being a complete skeptic or a doubter, but you also must not go into your work just having ridiculous blind faith that things are just going to magically, spookily in a magically way happen. Okay? The magician, like the physicist, performs experiments in order to find out the result and does not assume to know the result prior to completion of the experiment. So we must incorporate the concept too of indulgence here. You're going to have to indulge in certain things via those experiments to get that result or understanding. I mean, there's a lot of people, for multitude of reasons, some people, and I get it, rightfully so, and some are justified. They'll say things like, I'm not ready yet to do that type of work, or I'm not at that point yet. And some of them, that's the case. They're true. They got more learning to do, more studying, more preparation. I get that. But then there's some people who are fence travelers. They be bullshitting, not only others, but they bullshit themselves. They keep finding spooky reasons. And I'm here to tell you, you're not going to be able to figure everything out prior, where you feel safe and comfortable before you do it. Remember, this path keeps you on your toes. It constantly challenges you. And having a little of that fear of the unknown is a good thing, because it keeps you sharp, not fear through ignorance. I'm talking about that fear of the unknown that creates that anxiousness. Not anxiousness to the level of anxiety, but that anxiousness to want to know. That's that burning desire for more knowledge. And in that fear of the unknown, it fuels that fire. That's not a bad thing. But I'm here to tell you, you're going to get to points and aspects in the journey on your path where you're not going to have all the information that's going to make you feel comfortable. It just doesn't work like that, people. I would never even promote it like that, because I'd be deceiving you. And anybody that is doing that is deceiving you. It's deeper than just lighting a few candles and doing a few spells and saying a few invocations, right? It goes a lot deeper than that. But you've got to be willing to accept and embrace the change and understand there's going to be some aspects of the unknown. But I can tell you this, what prepares you for that and keeps things in alignment so that things go in accordance to your will is by doing your due diligence, by studying, preparing, gaining as much knowledge and awareness as you can, by taking care of yourself, as I described in those 5 points of mastery, right? That's what I teach the people that are in the mentorship program on Patreon. They did a whole ritual on that. They don't look at the pentagram the same anymore. There's many hidden sciences and meanings in the pentagram, the 5-pointed star of Baphomet. Outside of the surface shit that's out there, the above and the below and all that. I get all that. It goes deeper than that. Okay. The whole program is built upon the hidden mysteries of the 5 points of the pentagram. There's a science behind it. Okay. And everything is encoded in that you need to get your mind going in the right direction if you really know how to do it. Okay. Number 2, magic is the science. I love this one here, which produces genuine understanding regarding oneself. So next time somebody asks you, why do you do that stuff? Why are you into that stuff? You get these ignorant ass people. Why are you into that? That's all devil stuff, ain't it? Ain't it this and that? Or that's evil, or that's satanic, or blah, blah, blah. All the, talking out the ass, because they don't know what they're talking about. There's your answer. Next time somebody asks you why you practice magic, because it is the science which produces genuine understanding of oneself. I'm trying to understand and master myself and access my higher self via my personal daemon. The genius self, the real me that's laying dormant because it's been suppressed through all the systems of indoctrination from the time I came out of the womb of my mother. The programming started as a small child. So keep in mind, from that moment you exited through the womb of your mother. And remember, Set didn't even want to wait. When you read the story, Set ripped himself from the womb of his mother. That's what makes him, his birth and his whole makeup makes him completely unique than any other deity in ancient Egypt. Just that alone. But same thing with you. The moment you exited the womb, they tried to grasp your soul, and they do it via the mind. So it started as a young child. A lot of us at a certain age were introduced to religion. At some point, somebody sat you down, whether it was your mother, your father, your auntie, your uncle, a priest, a pastor, a sheikh, an imam, a teacher, whatever, your brother, your sister. That's at the moment spiritually you were indoctrinated when somebody said, there's a God. And he exists in the sky in a place called heaven. The spell started. It was put on your mind. So now you've been programmed to think, oh, out there's this old man in the sky sitting in the clouds that's controlling everything. Oh, okay. And this becomes stronger and stronger as you get older. Okay. Now, I know some people say I wasn't raised in religion, this and that, but you still are affected by it because you live in a society that its influence is there. And it affects you on a subconscious level that sometimes you're not even aware of. This is a Christian environment, a Christian society. Regardless if you were brought up religiously or not, you are affected by it consciously to a certain degree, and more so subconsciously than you're aware of. Okay? That's a reality that you can't escape. I don't care if you say, well, I wasn't brought up in a Christian household, but you went to schools and you work at jobs and you live in cities and states that are influenced by that. So you're partly or partially under that influence yourself, whether you know it or not. Okay? So it's all around. But keep in mind, if you came on this path at 19, then there's 19 years of deprogramming that needs to be done on your subconscious mind. If you came on this path at 30, 35, 40, there's 30 to 40 years of deprogramming. And remember, I said that's one of the aspects of magic, one of the most important aspects, not the only, but one of the very most important thing out of a lot of these things is the ability to reprogram that subconscious mind. Because remember, your mind, your brain, as I've said a million times before, is like a computer hard drive, right? Every time you go on your computer, if you put programs on it, apps, you go to Google. Google ain't nothing but a satellite. You search something, it immediately sends that information and stores it in the computer. Even if you erase your history, it's still on the hard drive. You can still access shit off your hard drive. Deleting your history doesn't necessarily delete it off the computer. It deletes it out of your history, Emmanuel, yes, but it doesn't take it off the computer. Anybody that knows about computers knows about that. Your brain is the same thing. Everything it is exposed to. Even when you come on this path and say, I'm not Christian no more, I've given that up, it's still stored in there. And sometimes, if you are honest with yourself, you will see it'll randomly come to the surface sometimes. Don't bullshit yourself. I don't give a fuck how much you think you know or how powerful you think you are in your mind. The reason I'm saying that is because, yes, you might have erased it out of your conscious existence, but it is still stored there. So you have to reprogram or rewire the hard drive on the brain like you would a computer to make those adjustments, okay? This is the reality. Because I see people been on this path before, and they've been around for years, and all of a sudden this Christian shit just comes to the surface. I'll never forget, and here's a living example of that. I'm going back, this is a while back. And this was probably around the late 90s, 97 or 98. And at that time, I was into more of an Egyptian spiritual path, okay? And we were having a gathering. It was like a gala, a big gala dinner event with a lot of people of the quote unquote conscious Kemetic community. And a brother I knew for years, I'm just going to tell the story. I ain't going to say names because I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus. A brother at that time that I was close with was asked to do kind of like the blessing, right? To open up the festivities, kind of to bless the food via the ancestors, this and that. And this brother, he would get kind of nervous, wasn't the best speaker, very knowledgeable brother at that time for what we were dealing with. Well, long story short, he opened up the festivities with what he was supposed to say, and he kind of got a little nervous, kind of froze up. And here's the deep thing, and I've seen this, everybody there saw it with the living eyes. He got so nervous and rattled towards the end, he ended what he was saying with to our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and said, amen. I'm talking in front of everybody. And I just looked like, wow. And I understand why he did it. He got nervous. But something triggered in his mind in that moment of anxiousness where his brain went back to something that was comfortable, that was stored in there. And he had been out of that religious shit for well over 15 years, 10 years, 15 years, somewhere in that range. But why did it come up in that moment? I'm trying to show you because it's still there. It's just is a constant. Everything sometimes isn't reprogrammed and rewired the way it needs to be. That's why I was saying in the beginning of the class, being in a sound mind is critical. Okay? I've even seen people having conversations with people of Egypt refer to Ra as the Most High. That shit is comical to me. I'm like, excuse me? And I've shared this with you guys before. Yeah, I've had dudes in the middle of just, I don't want to say like debates, but spiritual discussions. And these are Kemetic dudes, right? And they refer to Ra as the Most High. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why are you referring to Ra as the Most High? How is that different in Christianity, Islam, or Judaism when they refer to the biblical or the Quranic God as the Most High? Oh, no, see, man, I don't mean it like that per se. I mean it, no, I know you may not on the surface have meant it like that, but something deep down inside came out that is very religious in nature that you are not addressing. I know what the fuck you meant. I'm trying to tell you, you're not sure what you meant. Because anybody in their right mind wouldn't use that term in regards to that situation in that moment. Because the Most High, when you say that, the first question I'm going to ask you is the Most High of what? Are you saying this Most High is higher than you? Are you saying that you're inferior to this Most High? If not, when you're using the term most high, the most high of who and what? And then the Ralph Crandom usually kicks it. Humda. And I'm saying all that to say that's sometimes a psychological residual effect of being programmed by religion. And there's nothing wrong with it. It happens. It's not going to go away overnight. And as I said, I was saying last night in the class, this isn't about us. See, the mistake we're making as adults, we have so much fucking ego. We think this is about us. Right? We come in, we got our big ass Mr. T starter conscious community kits on, whether it's big ass beads twice the size of our head, a big ass Flavor Flav Ankh clock on, big ass mood rings twice the size of our head. All these things to feed our fucking ego because we think it's about us. No, this ain't about you. This is about us passing it on to these young children coming up behind us. That's how you change the cycle. People will say, how are we going to change things? Well, there needs to be an emphasis on the youth, but they got to be given something that they can relate to. That old shit, that shit don't work no more. Nobody wants to hear it. Okay, so preaching to them doesn't work. How we change the narrative is, see, we all came in this and we come from a background of all the bullshit I just talked about to some degree. So now we have the awareness and the knowledge. So the things start to change when you sit, if you have access to children or have your own children, and we have the ability to sit these children down now and teach them the right way, now we're shifting the whole paradigm because they're not going to come up the same way we came up. They're not going to have to worry about dealing with all that religious programming that we had to go through because they're going to put a stomp to it. They're going to smash that shit and put it to bed. That's when things change. That's how you break that chain of programming. So now when you sit your son and daughter down and you're giving them this information, now you got an individual walking out there that's dangerous to the conformist and those that run this conformist society, because they're like, that motherfucker, he or she knows. And this is when you'll see the paradigm shift. Only then. So this is not about us. We got to stop getting caught up in this as adults. We think this shit is about us, right? This is about these young children. What legacy are you leaving behind when you leave? What impact, if you were gone tomorrow, what impact and legacy did you leave as a whole for your children and as a whole? Ask yourself that. And if you can't come up with a clear-cut answer, you got a lot of work to do. You need to reevaluate your position on things. I was mentioning something last night, and I would encourage people, some of you may be aware of it, some of you are not. KRS-One, the rapper, has a YouTube channel based on his hip-hop foundation. If you've read his book, The Hip Hop Bible, it's awesome because he connects the culture and the music with spirituality. I love it, especially if you grew up in my era. And if you love the music, you love culture, and you love spirituality, I would encourage you. Actually, let me grab it real quick. Just want to show you something. But there's something he said. He has a YouTube channel where he does a weekly hip hop study. But it incorporates spirituality. He was saying something on there that I was sharing with everybody in class last night that I thought it really resonated with me. Okay. He said, here's the problem when it comes to the elders and the youth. Right? He said, the elders, it's not that the elders, we can't take the approach and say, oh man, fuck all them young folks. They don't know what they're talking about. He's saying, no, we need to hear what the youth is saying. So we as elders will move faster amongst the other elders and they'll have to get in line. And then he said, vice versa. The youth can't always be like, oh, them old folks don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Or they just old heads. They don't know anything. He said, the youth also need to listen to the elders because they could take that wisdom and now they could pass it to that younger youth and they're going to become wiser and more intelligent. So essentially he was saying, we kind of got to meet each other halfway in regards to that. But as elders and as us of our generation and time ending, we now have to pass the torch to them. But the question is, what are we passing to them? That's the question. Hold on. I would encourage you to get this book. Some of you may have it. It's been out for. It's called The Gospel of Hip Hop. First instrument presented by KRS-One for the Temple of Hip Hop. It's an awesome fucking book. And he formatted it like a Bible, and it's done purposely. And that there's deep reprogramming in that because of what I just said. So when you look at religiously a scripture or Bible, you're going to look at this the same way, but in a different aspect. So just for an example, and I'm thinking about even doing a class on this. He's got a saying right in the beginning by Edgar Casey. Heaven is not a place you go to. It is a place you grow to. Okay. Now, I've always been a big KRS-One fan. Man drops jewels. Man's my age, slightly older, in his mid-50s, sounds better than most MCs that are out today, still putting out great music. I'm not even gonna go to the intent, but when you go to the contents, it's off the chain, man. Where is it? Hold on. All right, let me just give you an example from the table of contents that he calls the order of overstandings, which I find very interesting. Hold on, somebody call me. Yeah. He's got some of the sections titled the first understanding, real hip hop, the second, the first overstanding, the second overstanding. He's got stuff here on health, love, awareness, wealth, the seasons. He's got stuff here on spirituality, ancient Egypt, meditation. I mean, anything you could think of is in here, but the difference of what he's doing, he's connecting it to the culture. So here's somebody doing something, right, that's leaving a legacy. See, and the kids can relate to that, especially kids that are real hip-hop heads or into hip-hop culture. You don't need to be an old school head. But I would encourage you, check out his YouTube page. It's called The Temple of Hip Hop. And he goes live every Sunday. You can go in there and ask him questions. It's phenomenal. I would check out the book, The Hip Hop Gospel. I'm saying that because of what just came up here. And I know we kind of bouncing all over the place, but these things are coming up, so I have to address them. All right. Time we got. All right. I'm just going to get through these last statements and then maybe take a couple of questions. I don't think I can get through all this because I got to be up early in the morning. I got some food on the way. So once my food gets here, I am out. I'm going to have to peace out on you. All right. Let's get back to this. So it is the genuine, Magick is the science which produces genuine understanding regarding oneself, which ultimately comes from one's own unconscious mind, not your conscious mind. The true understanding of yourself doesn't come from your conscious mind. So all that shit on the surface you think you are or you think you know means absolutely nothing. This is what I mean when I said most people live their lives striving to be something that they're not. It's that what I call the Trinity of self. There's one who you think you are, right? That's who people live their lives trying to be. Then there's the second one, how you how you think people see you as, which ties into the first one. So it's who you think you are and who you portray yourself to be. And then there's the third one, which is the only one that matters. It's actually who you really are. That's what this is talking about here. And who you really are is unlocked via your unconscious mind. Because everything that you truly are is ingrained in your unconscious mind. And part of this path is by going and tapping into it and accessing it. Okay. From the unconscious mind or the inner self. Further, Magick is the understanding of one's conditions. So if you want to understand why shit is happening to you, why is this happening? Why is this always taking place? Why me? You know the people, why me? Why always bad shit happen to me? Or you always want to know the answers. Why is good shit always happening, this and that, or vice versa? There's your answer. Magick will help you understand your conditions. Okay? Understanding those conditions. Yeah, I don't know if I said earlier. I just saw a like pop up. I only see one up there, man. Get them likes up, man. Try to get them likes up, man. All right? So it's understanding your condition. Okay? Magick not only enlightens man to himself and women, as the microcosm, it enlightens him or her to the nature of reality beyond yourself. So to truly understand magic, you must, through ritual work, meditation, astral traveling, you must be able to vibrate out of a three-dimensional existence in your ritual work to understand things beyond this existence. Okay? And that's obtained via your ritual work. Okay? That's facts. And that's personal. Yes, it's subjective in nature. You want to, that stuff you talking about, astral travel, that's pseudo. Why? It's pseudo because you didn't experience it. So you can't validate it. So you just want to negate it as being pseudo. Please, man, get the fuck out of here with that shit. Okay? Not everything is going to be fact-checked in a book, unfortunately. And for those that need that all the time, that's pretty sad. That shows me how limited that person is in their subjective consciousness and understanding, okay? Magic is understanding in action. This has three implications. So magic, you can't just understand by reading books, right? Magic, you can't just understand by me or anybody else just talking to you. Magic, you're not going to fully understand just by taking a million classes, correct? The only way you're going to truly understand magic is when you put it into action, okay? And I've been saying that shit for years. Look, it doesn't impress me with all the information you can regurgitate. I've been doing this shit too long. I don't say it out of arrogance. Okay, don't be deceived. As I've said many times before, I may not be mainstream known on the internet, but I've been around for a while. Those that know me know me. I've heard it all. There's nothing you're going to tell. People come up to me and they say shit like I'm going to be impressed. I'm not. And the sad thing is about you shouldn't waste that energy and time impressing me or anybody else. You should be focused on yourself. So regurgitating information and recollecting things from books and all that shit is pointless. If you can't what? If you can't put it into action. Okay? And this has three implications. The final results of the other two, and it is the understanding that action does not translate only to spiritual action. I love this part right here. Meaning meditation, ritual, ceremonies, spells, etc., but it also applies to the physical action. I love that shit. So here's the thing. People will do rituals and magic and spells, and they'll just do something spiritual and they just sit on it. And they don't think they have to do anything in their physical existence to enhance the power of that magic. So let me give an example. I've talked about this before. If you're doing a ritual for money and you want to open a business or you got a business idea, you're not just going to do the ritual, poof, light a few candles, oh, Lucifer, come and help, blah, blah, blah. No, you're still going to have to go out there and make connections, open doors, hustle up that money. So what you do in your physical mundane world is going to complement what you're doing in your spiritual world. They go side by side. So you're not just going to do work to open doors financially and then not get out here on the grind physically and make that money and hustle up that money. It doesn't work like that. Many people contact me and they do spells. I need to get a better job. And I did a candle spell and I'm sitting around and nobody's calling me. You're a fucking moron. That's why nobody's calling you. Okay? You still got to go out there. You still got to put your resume online. You still got to go on the job boards. You still got to go on job interviews. That's not how this works. That's why the author put it there. You must be doing, let me say this again, in case you fuckers ain't listening. You must be doing things in your physical life that are complementing your spiritual work. That's the difference of what I do. I don't do ritual work and sit back and go, oh, that's it. Woo, let me just sit back now. I'm going to smoke a cigar. I'm going to have a nice, drink here, a nice meal, and everything's gravy. No. What magic makes me do is get harder on my grind. Whatever I'm doing to hustle money, it makes me hustle harder. Whatever I'm doing to achieve, it makes me go harder for my kids. Whatever it's making me do, I want to drive a better car than the car that I have. I drive a new car every 3 years. I don't keep a car for more than 3 years. All my cars. Okay? And I'm not saying that to brag or boast. It's because that's the way I set it up. Anybody that knows me, any car that I drive, I have it 3 years, is gone. Okay? All of that stuff comes because you're doing things in the spiritual realm through your rituals, your spells, your meditation, any of that stuff. And then this is the part that people go, oh, wait a minute, I actually had to do shit and get off my ass physically? Hell yeah. How you going to open a business if you don't get out there and open them doors and make them connections? See, how the spirits work is when you invoke the spirits to assist you in matters like that, they don't do it for you, but they open the door. They say, okay, door is open. What you going to do with it? Now walk through. What you going to do with it? That's not how this path works. They don't do everything and anything for you. That's religion. That's Harry Potter. That's Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. That's Cinderella and all that shit. That's not how this works. You got to be proactive in the physical world. Okay? Sorry, I get a little passionate about that. Excuse me. But anyway, there must be something physical to complement it. Whatever thing you change within reality to suit your will is an act of magic. Whatever thing you change within reality to suit your will is an act of magic. And remember, magic is enforcing your will upon a situation for betterment or change for yourself. That's why we do it. So now we're taking the spookism out of this. See, fools that don't know nothing about the occult to the left, oh, you'll walk around in robes and black hoods saying, "Hail Satan," and all that fucking internet movie, Hollywood, Church of Satan, 1966 shit. No, it's not what the fuck we're talking about here. It's not what I'm talking about. So let me speak for me. Okay? And that's not what I teach. And that's not what I'm trying to show you. I'm trying to show you that this is a path of apotheosis, self-mastery, self-deification that gives true meaning to the term you are a god or a goddess. Not a god or a goddess in the sense of monotheism, because the religious people go, "Oh, that's blasphemy. Oh, you're saying you're God." Not your fake, spooky ass old man with the white beard sitting on the throne in heaven. Not the dude that's in a diaper nailed to a cross. Not that God. I'm not equating myself to your mythological fairy tale God. No. When I say that we're God or goddess, I say that simply means we're taking responsibility for our destiny. We're taking control of our lives. We're navigating our spiritual path. We're making the choices or the decisions. Nobody is telling us what we can and cannot do. You can't do this, you can't do that, you can't dress like this, you can't wear that, shouldn't watch that, shouldn't do this, don't. Fuck to all that. When I'm saying you are a god or a goddess, I am simply saying to you, you're making a declaration or a statement that you are taking the control of your life. You are the navigator of the course of your life and your spirituality. Nobody's telling you what you should accept and not accept. Nobody's telling you you need to be a Muslim, a Christian, a Jew, you need to be saved. My thing is, when people say you need to be saved, what do you do when you save something? You store it away. And you save it for a specific time. Why do they want to save everybody? To me, when I hear the word saved, it's to control your mind. They want to just fuck your brain up and store you and put you with the rest of the robots and the conformers. So my question is, saved from what? Well, you need to be saved from sin. But I thought that's why he came the first time. Well, you see, he's returned. No. See, there's a lot of contradictions in your bullshit. I need to be saved from that. That's what I need to be saved from. Okay? But my point is, back to the original point. Okay? Whatever you change within reality to suit your will is an act of magic. Whether it be participating in a sacred ceremony or simply taking a shit. That's what the author's got here. Okay? So let's simplify this. If you have to take a shit, I know it's going to sound crazy, right? And your will was to take a shit, and you took a shit and you accomplished it, that is a form of magic, right? He's taking a very simple, they're showing you the very simplistic side of it and the more complex side of it. And I've said this before, I've used something similar to this. I said to you guys, you don't realize you practice magic every day on a powerful level. Most people, as the day winds down, start to give thought towards what they're going to do tomorrow. Think about this shit for a minute. Especially on the weekend. Like, it might be during the week. Okay, I got home from work. All right, time's winding down. I got to get my clothes ready for tomorrow. I'm going to go ahead and make my lunch. You're mapping out your whole day. And guess what? When you carry out and do that, you go make your lunch. You get up in the morning, put the clothes on that you laid out and willed. And then I got to be at work. And you do all things in accordance with how you laid it out, time-wise, etc. You have just performed magic, whether you're aware of it or not. That's how this works. Because it starts here. It all had to be formulated here first. It's the same thing. The weekend comes, you know what? I'm going to go down to the park. I'm going to play a little ball on Saturday. I'm going to leave Saturday. I'm going to head down to the beach over there. I'm going to sit on the beach and get lunch with my girl. And we're going to talk. We're going to have some drink. And after that, we're going to come home. Now you visualize it. And then Saturday comes, you carried it out just the way you saw it. That's fucking magic. Now, why can't you do that with everything else you do when you do your spiritual path? There's no excuse. You can't fucking give me a reason or a legitimate answer to that question. The same way you do it in your everyday life and you're not conscious of it is the same way you can do it and apply that same methodology to your spiritual work. Okay? So you're seeing it, you're visualizing it. All is mental, mental is all. All things have its origin in the mind. It starts here. You formulate the thought. The thought comes from the mind. Then from that thought, you create a visualization. So you literally sit there and you think, or even if you plan a trip, yeah, man, I'm going to go to Jamaica, or we're going to go to Cuba, we're going to do this, that. You're seeing Cuba, you're seeing Jamaica, you're seeing the ocean, or you're seeing what you're going to do, or some activity that you got planned. That's magic, people. And then when you actually carry it out, you have now completed that magical act. Step one is formulating it in the mind. Step two is forcing your will to carry it out and do what? What the book say? Put it into action. It's the difference of what we do and other motherfuckers don't do. So you live magic, you eat, breathe, sleep, shit, and live magic 24/7. This is not a path where it's just, I'm going to play magic when I'm in a YouTube video, or I'm going to play magic when I'm at some conference or some seminar, and I'm going to put on my big ass Flavor Flav Ankh and my dashiki, and I'm going to say Alafia and Hotep and Ashe, and I got it all down pat. No. We live, eat, breathe, and sleep this shit 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's that simple. This is a lifestyle. It's a way of life. It's a way of living. It's not just a convenient thing on the weekends or when it's convenient for you. No, it's not how this works. All right. All right. I'm going to stop there. Let me see if I can take a few questions. I'm not going to be able to get to all of them. All right. Let me not keep going because I could keep going on this shit. But I wanted to clarify. We must understand what magic in the occult is and what it's not. Okay? I'm trying to take all that spooky shit out of it. Hold on one sec. Yeah, down to 77. That's a little hot. All right. So let me see what we got here. Just looking for questions. I ain't going to take any really too many comments. Let me see what I see up here. I don't see too many questions. Goddess Isis says, happy Friday, Brother Manita. The African Witchcraft and Sorcery class last night was fire. Thank you. Yes, it was. I mentioned that earlier. I'm not sure if you're still here. Yeah, I'd recommend you guys check that out, man. It's an ongoing series. We're up to class 8. We have many ongoing series going on the Patreon now. We have the Luciferian Magic and Self-Mastery class. We just started the Klipothic series. We got a Sith class going on. We got an Ancient Egyptian Vampiric ongoing series on. We got a Kundalini Meditation and Awakening class going on. We're about 7-8 deep in that. We've got a Norse mythology and runes left-hand path class going on. I'd check that out. We have an esoterical occult Bible study class going on over the last year and a half. These are all ongoing series. I mean, we're covering anything and anything you can think about. But in there, it's in a more personalized setting. And obviously, there's things there I'm going to talk about that I don't really talk about here for multiple reasons. I'm sure you would all understand. But check it out, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti, and I would suggest you take a look at tier 3. That's the best tier. That'll give you access to the 3 classes I do on there a month, along with the ritual. All right, what else we got? Derek B. Austin says, true tribal magic isn't for the masses. It's used to protect and kill those that may harm the tribe. True power comes from greater connection to the spirit, and this is magic to me. Well, I can agree with that on different levels. All right, what else we got? Streets, very interesting. Babashir Streets, quantum mechanics grounds us to this realm. I'm not sure if you're using it. Very interesting that you use that word and what I know it as. When you go back to the Mediterranean, there's a practice in witchcraft called Streja. I don't know if that's why you're using it. Something I was thinking about doing a class on. And I have people in my ancestry rooted to a practice called that when it comes to witchcraft and magic. Now, again, I'm not saying you're using it for that, but the word caught my attention. All right. Streeter says, I realized trying to awaken the dead is bad magic within itself, respectfully. Yeah, I mean, it depends. It's not something recommended that should be done frequently. Now, there are spiritual systems that exist that they use the dead in very destructive forms of magic and curse work, but it's not free. And that's the reason why it's dangerous to do it, because you will give something. I'm not going to really get into depth and elaborate on that at this moment. You are correct. There's a responsibility that comes with it. But real necromancy or working with the spirits of the dead is not really what people think it is. It's actually an appreciation for life. It's actually invoking, say, bloodline spirits or those that have passed along from a necromancy perspective, not from that type of perspective, but that exists. And it is a part of this path, right? But in my opinion and experiences with it, there's rules that govern that. And the best way I can describe it to you is that is not free. You will give something of yourself if you do stuff like that, right? And people do it. There are people who specialize in that type of spirituality, but it can take a toll on their life in a multitude of ways. So yes, I do agree. There's a responsibility that can come along with it. But when you're dealing with veneration of your ancestors, and that's working with the dead, that's in a whole different aspect, because that's showing honor and respect to the dead. When you're working with the spirits of the dead and petitioning them to enhance your knowledge, your spirituality, and your growth, to help and assist in ways that are going to be beneficial for you, outside of those aforementioned ways, that's when it becomes a very uplifting and positive thing. So there's different aspects in regards to that, but I do agree there is a destructive aspect to it. You've got to be careful with. AKA Morningstar says, so true. Magic also is a flow of current of energy, and you're conjuring up. It is. That's part of it. So there's many different aspects of the definition of magic that apply to it. But when we take all these things, a lot of these things you guys are throwing out, it goes back to all that equates to me is the science of understanding oneself and conditions. And those are some of the concepts and techniques that we have to use to understand ourselves in those conditions. So everything you guys are saying, definitely, it's connected, 100%. Okay, what else we got? If I'm saying your name right, Yessi Alfaro, I would recommend The Science of Breath. I can never get Yogi's last name spelled right. Everybody that's on Patreon with me and takes the Patreon classes, it's required that they have this book, because we use this book in our spiritual work. Hold on. Let me get the correct spelling. It's Yogi Ramcham Raka, but I can never get the spelling of his name. As many years as I've been using the book, you'd think I would know the shit by now. Hold on one sec. And there's different versions of it, so be careful. Some have reproduced it. I'm going to make sure I give you the right version. Hold on one second. Bam. Just pull it up right here. Just want to make sure I'm giving you the right one. Right here. All right. It's Science of Breath, a complete manual of of Oriental breathing. And in here, he's got great techniques and exercises to master breath control. I've been telling people for years, science of breath and breath control and breathing are very critical, not only to your physical health, but to your mental and your spiritual growth. You've heard a lot of people that have been watching my channel for years have heard me say many times over the years, most people are mouth breathers, which can create a lot of disease and mental and spiritual dysfunction in your mind and your body. The proper way to technically breathe is in through your nose and out through your nose. Now, there's a form of deep compression breathing where there's times where you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth. But sometimes people have conditions that's beyond their control that can be addressed. It could be sinuses, it can be a deviated septum, they could be snorers. Mouth breathing can actually take years off of your life. Because when you're mouth breathing, you're not filtering, because the purpose of breathing in and out, it assists the functioning of blood and oxygen flowing through the body, the burning process of blood and oxygen. When that process is disrupted, it could affect the amount of oxygen and blood that gets to the brain and other vital organs, creating other issues within your body. So I've always told people, either film yourself or have somebody monitor you for a little bit while you sleep to observe your breathing patterns. And if you're a snorer or a mouth breather, it's something you should address. But the science of breath control, there's exercises in there to assist with issues like that and other things. The book it's amazing. It's been around since the late 1800s, early 1900s. It's an old occult classic that people in all spectrums or realms of consciousness, whether it's Buddhism, Hinduism, left-hand path, all these systems of spirituality use it in some shape, form, or fashion. I've been recommending the book for years. So that's the book. Let me spell his last name because I can never spell his goddamn name. All right, it's Yogi. That's it right there. I don't know if you can see it. Science of Breath. Yogi. I'm going to type his name. I'll just type it in here. Yeah, everybody that takes my classes is required to have this book. You should do some type of decompression breathing before all your ritual work. So anybody that's been in the classes and doing ritual work, we always start off our ritual work with some type of breath control exercise for a few moments before we go into ritual, because it's important. Breathing is very critical. Science of breath control is very critical into your spiritual growth and your development. It's going to enhance your meditation, your focus, your concentration, and your ritual work overall. If your breathing is out of whack, that could be, not the only reason, but that could be why some people say they struggle with meditating. They can't focus. Their concentration or attention span is very short. A lot of that could be related to improper breathing techniques. Yes, 100%. All right, there's his name. I just typed the book in the chat. Why did it not go through? There we go. All right, I just typed it in to all destinations. So, all right, what else we got? Yeah, and Taja put it in. He probably see. I just saw it now. He put an Audible link in there too. Just saw it. Yeah, it's a very easy book to access. It's again, you can get it on Amazon. There's a digital version. It's actually free on Scrib too. The one that I have, to me, is the best, and I've only seen it on Scrib. I haven't seen a hard copy. The Complete Manual of Oriental Breathing and Philosophy. You're going to see this one has more stuff in it than just the original version of the Science of Breath, because it has been what do they call that? They put out new editions. They have added to it and added information. Okay, it has been revised is the word I was looking for, drawing a blank. Yeah, Sundog Om Constellation on Etsy. That was the one. I think you were the one that actually had put that out there at that time. Has Wrathful Chaos, the 5 satanic books of satanic philosophy for $11. That, yeah, you were the one. So that link is in there. So yes, man. Thank you guys for backing me up with the Science of Breath book. And like you see, Sundog and Taja, we all work together, so they know. You know, we all do the classes. So they're in the classes, and they're part of what we're doing, so they know. Again, the book it either came out 1898 or 99, or it might have been the early 1900s. It's a very old book. All right. Chico Shogun. I like it, man. Chico Shogun. Sounds like an action movie star. No, let me stop. I'm just having fun. What do you do when your holy guardian, starring Chico Shogun, let me stop. What do you do when your holy guardian angel changes how your mind thinks? Well, we got to understand it. Now, the question is, and I know it's kind of when I say vague, you're not really specifying, but it depends on the type of change and how you're perceiving it, right? Now, if you've truly tapped into your holy guardian angel or your higher self, it should be changing your mind for the better. Now, sometimes in that change, some of that could be difficult to process because it's going to challenge a lot of the things that you might have been sound in for many years. So there could be that aspect. So understanding it, reasoning these things out, the communications you're getting from your holy guardian angel or your personal daemon or your higher self, it starts there. And it should, again, be changing it for more beneficial growth. But is in some of that, or in that process, it's going to be challenging. It's not all going to be easy. So in regards to that, based on the way you worded the question, that's the best way I could answer that based on the way you worded the question, right? And that's what it's supposed to do. It should constantly be changing your mind, thinking for the better for your personal growth and development. But you're going to uncover a lot of things that could be very intense and difficult to deal with in the moment. And that's part of the process. Suzanne Thompson says, good evening. Good evening. Now it's evening, right? I came on, it was late afternoon. But we're about to wrap this up soon. Infernal blessings. Asiatic soldier says, yo, salute, peace, and blessings. Salute to you. I would assume you're a brother. I don't want to assume, but I would assume. But a woman can be a soldier too, right? So I don't want to be judgmental. What's going on there, Urban Alchemist? That's a long name there. H.P.I.C. The Dexter of Brujas. What's going on, mama? Yeah, you've been here before. I can't forget that long name. Do you have a channel or something that I can refer to? Or is that just your screen name? If so, shoot me an email. If you got a channel or some type of social media or Instagram or Facebook or something. Email me. You see the email going on the ticker on the bottom. If you're still here, I'm not sure if you're still here. That earlier when Nexodus 66 put in Cushite, that was when we were talking earlier about Ethiopia and Egypt and all that. Yeah, so now Sperling Lady, got to clean that hard drive, brother. You know how that works. A format and a defrag. That's the technical term for it. Yes, I agree. Using what do they call that? The Geek Squad terms. There we go. They still got the Geek Squad at what you call it at Best Buy. Do they still exist? That's a business that's going down the tubes now. I see a lot of Best Buys. I don't know where you guys at, but a lot of them are folding. I don't think people really go in there like that, man. Especially, when it comes to music, I don't think, to my knowledge, I don't know anybody buying CDs anymore. I know they probably still sell some type of electronics, computers, and shit like that. But yeah, that's just crazy. Brother Taja Trotter says the programming controls the paradigm, whether we recognize it or not. Yes, and you're the one facilitating that programming consciously or unconsciously. Because when it's instilled in you unconsciously and you're carrying it out, we're still carrying it out whether we're aware of it or not. So just as quick as we are carrying it out and are the root cause of it, we could also destroy it and rebuild it and be that root cause or foundation of it. But yes, either way, it comes back to you 100%. Either way. Urban alchemy. There you go. Religion. Yeah, religion. When I was talking about that earlier, I believe it was in that comment. It is. Brother Louis F. That's Brother Tata I was talking about earlier. He comes in. Here's Louis F. Check out the class we did yesterday. All right. All right, where we at? I think we're winding this down. Yeah. This is good by Taj here. We're speaking to a conscious brother. I love that word, conscious. The brother's conscious. I like to fuck around. Like sometimes I hear people go, yeah, you know, that sister or that brother's conscious. And I say, why are you saying that? How do you know? They could be the dumbest motherfucker you ever met on the planet. No, they can't. Why? Because they wearing a dashiki or some beads or their hair is natural. People will say shit like that just because of that. Shit, I've seen people have the whole look down packed, the natural hair, the beads, the whole nine. And then I've seen somebody might have had weave or extensions and nails, and they were more intelligent and smarter than the person that quote unquote looked conscious. Looks are deceiving people. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't judge people by the way they look. You can get fucked up in that. Right? But anyway, a conscious brother, a while back having fun playing around with the Bible prayer. The brother was like blasphemy, couldn't control him. That's how deep the programming is. You know, listen, this is why when you might have seen in older satanic rituals, like in some of the older satanic rituals, like the satanic rituals, the companion to the Satanic Bible by LaVey, there's rituals in there where you stamp on the Bible or you piss or shit on it. Do you know how morbid that is for some people to even conceive? I've had to do rituals where I had to have people, and I work with people that can't break the spell of religion. They might have had to do some type of form of desecration to it, and they go fucking batshit crazy. It's no different than this book. It's a book with paper in it. But since you're mentioning the print, but it goes to show you how deep the programming is. It's like we automatically, as young kids, we were instilled with this inferiority complex. I know growing up as a kid and going to Catholic school, pretty much the first 8 years from 1st to 8th grade, we were like, we were fearful and inferior to nuns and priests. I go back to a time when I went to Catholic school. It's not like today. The nuns and the priests were teachers. When I went to Catholic school, the nuns could take the ruler and whack you on the hand. So you guys don't know nothing about that shit, right? Back in them days, the teachers could hit your ass. And when we were out of line, nuns would come up to you, they grab your hand and they take the ruler and they whack your hands if you were talking and you shouldn't have, etc. And we were, back in the day, you could never think anything bad or say anything bad about a priest or a nun. And look, turned out to be the biggest pedophiles that walked the planet. Okay? There's a serious, well, that's a whole nother story. Don't get me started on that. But to your point, the conscious brother, I just got to keep doing that. Let me stop. Yeah, that's how deep that spell of programming is, man. Right? There's a chant we'll use on this path. Sometimes we'll say, me, ma. We'll vibrate it. It's amen in reverse. That's all it is. We vibrate it in different tones and frequencies. Right? And we'll say invocations and we end it with that. Part of that is magic because that's part of the reprogramming. Right? But even when you break the word down in Revelations 3, verse 14, the word amen or amen means it is faithful, it is true. So that's why they say it at the end of their prayers. Right? The Christians say amen or amen in the old Latin. Right? The Jews say amen. And you also will hear it sometimes as Amun, which is closely phonetically to the deity Amun in ancient Egypt. Right? And it's just a statement that means it is faithful. It is group, but it refers to, in Revelation 3, verse 14, a congregation or a group of people. Right? Which is getting into something else. But my whole point is, look, we break all that shit down in the esoterical occult Bible study class. We tear all that shit up. We go from Genesis all the way to Revelations. We break down the scriptures in their entirety, but we give you the esoterical occult breakdown of their origins, the history, where these books came from, the whole nine. When I tell you we're tackling everything on it, we are tackling everything, and it's very organized. And then all these classes are ongoing, man. So I encourage you guys to check them out. Patreon.com/Baniti. It's right there on the bottom of the screen. Tier 3 is the route. Yeah, Taj, check out the Temple of Hip Hop. I think we need to get together on that next show and do something in correlation to this. I think we need to shift gears and do something now, taking it to a more of a spiritual level. Okay. Beyond White on Facebook. I appreciate that. Watching on Facebook. Yeah, we are live, not just here on YouTube. We are live on Primordial Chaos on Facebook. We are also live on Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram. All right. Yeah, man, I got to just call you Urban Alchemist. I can't say that long ass name. Only when I first see you. Right, Urban Alchemist. You're right. That's what Friends. Yeah, it's an eternal vibe. That is a song you keep on repeat. Totally agree. But I love KRS, man. KRS One, Rakim. Last year, that's what I did for my birthday. If you guys remember, last year I had the privilege of meeting Rakim. I actually met him years ago. I'm going back in the 80s in New York. I'm going back to the Rooftop, Latin Quarter days, Union Square. Man, I'm going back in the 80s, very early 90s when he was doing shows at the Rooftop in the Latin Quarter. And there was a place, 007, out in Nassau County in New York. I saw him a few times back then, but I ain't seen him perform live till when I saw him last year, man. Still always in awe. No matter how old I get like a little kid when I see Rakim perform. It's amazing, every word. But I had a chance to go see him last year on my birthday, which was nice. This year, which my birthday was last weekend, we did something a little different this year. As you guys know, my boy flew in. Calvin's like a little brother of mine. We've been friends for well over 20 plus years. I know him since he was a teenager, little teenager. But I always I got 3 sisters, but I always looked at Calvin as a little brother. He's like my little brother. But now he's not so little anymore. He's in his 40s. He came through. And I'm not a drinker, people. And I've said this before. My boy Calvin likes to drink. And Calvin has this way of, just feeding you drinks. So, man, I was down in the mojitos like I probably shouldn't have on, I think that was Friday. And we got into a little mess. We went to 2 Stanley Cup games. We had some fun, man. We was out at the beach, man. We was chilling. So, we did some stuff we hadn't done in a while. It was good. And I'm glad he came through. My little guy hadn't seen him in a while since he was small. Been a few years since the pandemic kicked in. And what I was telling him, and I'm going to start getting back out there again. I got to get back up to New York more, get home a little bit more. I was telling Brother Angel that we were doing stuff up there we had started like right before the pandemic hit. And though I've traveled several times since, but I was used to be in a regular routine where I was going up north about 3-4 times a year, sometimes more. So I'm going to try to get back into that. I got to get back up there and reconnect with peoples up that way. Because they've busted my balls about it. When you're going to start coming back home, when you're going to start coming back up. And I got to get my ass back up there because I got people, obviously with my family, a lot of friends in New York. And then I got a lot of people and family and friends in Providence, Rhode Island. And in some of the New England area, a few in Connecticut, etc. So I got to get back up there, especially Providence, man. I got to see my boys up that way. We haven't gotten together in a while up there, and I'm kind of craving it. So we're gonna try to get back out there. We're gonna get out there. All right, what else we got? Woke my podcast, peace, God, trying to. So let's link up. Definitely reach out. Yes, Alfaro, the Wrathful Chaos book. Now, keep in mind, be careful with PDFs. Sometimes the PDFs are not in the exact alignment as the hardcover, depending on the way the person downloaded the PDF. So that may not always tell the story if that's why you're trying to do it. Technically, counting the introduction and everything, it's 303 pages. 303. I'm even thinking out. I think I'm going to reach out to this guy, Ariak, and see if I can get him on the show. He's based out of California. I think I'm going to do that, man. I mean, I love this book. Now, I will tell you this. Be careful. There's a lot of touchy subjects in there. He is an occultist that touches on suicide. It's not for the faint at heart. And I don't want anybody to misread it. It's not that he's in no way, shape, form, or fashion condoning suicide, but he's getting to the reasonings and understandings why people do it. I'm careful when I thread that water because I'm sure, just like I'm sure there's plenty of you in here, I've lost very close people around me over the years to suicide. My childhood friend, and sometimes with that, you just don't know what a person's going through. So I'm careful how I talk about that, and I got to be careful because there could be people here watching that are struggling with suicidal thoughts. It exists. It's real. And I spoke on this before. If you know anybody struggling, I don't want to sound cliche and I don't want to sound like a commercial. Sometimes we just don't check on people, man. Check on folks, man. You know, it goes a long way sometimes reaching out to somebody. Hey, how you doing, man? Everything okay? I'm just checking on you. But mean it. Don't just be doing it. And you'll find out sometimes people just need somebody to talk to. It could be as simple as that. But what I've learned with that is it's sad because, like, even with my friend, my childhood friend, we grew up, tight. Literally a couple weeks out of high school, we were so tight, we went and got an apartment together immediately after we graduated high school. I've been out of my house since high school. I literally moved out of my house. I have not lived at home. That's a decision I made. But I use him as an example because this was a dude that on the surface had everything together. See, people think they can kind of stereotype somebody who they think is struggling with suicide. They always think it's somebody whose life is a mess. They're struggling financially or they got all these other problems. That's not true. Somebody could be struggling with that who's very successful and on the surface has their life together. I told you my boy was a cook. He was a chef. He had a passion for cooking growing up. Made the best, how we say this, he made the best banana pancakes, man. That's what I miss, those fucking pancakes. But not only that, just his love for cooking translated him to becoming a 5-star chef out in Vegas. And man, when I used to see him, or he used to come here and visit, I used to visit him there, and I look on his face where he was living the life. 5-star, working he worked in a couple of them, MGM Grand, few of them out there. But he worked in Vegas as a 5-star chef, had bitches, excuse my terminology, had hoochies galore, was living it up, the whole nine. But in the inside, he was not happy. He was struggling. I told you, he went through a divorce. But it turns out there was a lot of things going on there that nobody knew. Yes, we were fortunate he left a note. But long story short, I don't want to end this on a somber note, but you just don't know what somebody's going through. Don't assume because on the surface, somebody looks like they got their shit together that you assume, oh, they good, they okay. Nah, check on your people, man. Just say, hey, man, how you doing, man? Just checking on you. You know, hey, everything okay? Everything going good? You don't know. You know, I try to do it. Nobody's perfect. Do I hold some regrets? I do, you know, and sometimes that's human nature. You beat yourself up. We always feel like when something like that happens, could we have done more? You know, I ask myself that. My son's first mother, same thing. I lost her to a lot of personal things, but that she was dealing with, but that's a whole nother story. You know, you just don't know. You don't know what's going on in here. Don't assume everybody's okay, and don't gauge everybody being okay by what you're seeing on the outside. You can see somebody that got money, they have a beautiful home, they're driving expensive cars, they live in the life. You go, man, I wish I was that person. Man, they got their shit together. And on the inside, they're dying. You just don't know it. Okay, so we can't take that for granted, right? I don't want to turn this into something somber, but you get my point. Okay, yeah, it was the Wrathful Chaos book, Shamsu, by Arioch, Arioch. Yeah, I see Taja put it in there. Dion White says, Benny, thanks for sharing and giving me the opportunity to thank you in person. A lot of people that I follow on a social media platform that I am not going to mention their names have very good intentions and insight, just like you. That makes sense. And lastly, they believe in themselves. That is the whole reason. I appreciate that. No, I don't have a P.O. box, but I do have a mailing address where my office is. I could send you that. Woke Mob Podcast. Send me an email. The email is going on the ticker at the bottom of the screen. Send me an email there, and I can send you a mailing address for sure. Hold on one sec. I just don't want to. I don't want to put it in here publicly. Not that I'm saying I want to try, but I just don't want people sending me shit, that I don't want. Hold on. Yeah, just send me an email and I will mail you a mailing address where you can send it to. It'll be my office. It's a suite, and you can send me something there. I appreciate it. Who's this? Make sure I'm not saying it. Hopefully, I'm not butchering your name. Gil. I don't know if it's Sleplios or Gills, Kleplios. Hopefully, I'm not butchering it. Most people cannot handle magic at all and should definitely stick to more right-hand path practice, but those who will know that the left-hand path is encrypted for a reason. Yeah, I mean, it's not, the path isn't for everybody. That's 100%. It's just not for everybody. Just like a lot of things in life, right? You find your niche, but I do believe no, let me not say unfortunately, because that's not true. I do believe it's probably better off some people, don't be on this path. Just keeping it. Yes, astrology, I do agree with you. There is a strong astrological presence in necromancy work. Astrology definitely has its place, and I've talked about that. Now, I've also talked about I stay away from not the way we use it, more in the occult and left-hand path, but there are a lot of quote-unquote right-hand path, new agey / conscious movements that kind of use it religious. Like I don't use astrology where you see some of these fanatics where they think it's the tell-all, be-all, and governs every aspect of your life. Astrology is a very helpful tool that can give you very important information about yourself and the universe. But remember, you always have the ability. We were talking about this last night. It's crazy. Brother Tata was saying, like, look, there's a thing that we call destiny, right? And it's a road in a sense that people will look at that's mapped for us. We create it. But we always have the ability to make a turn down another road. And that could be good or bad. But it is a very helpful tool, and it does have its place. And I think we use it a little bit more constructively on the left-hand path than per se a new age. And it's not to knock, but it's just the reality. Maybe a new ager or some type of conscious movement. It does. I agree. What else we got? Yeah. Brother Tata addressing goddess Isis. Gaslepios, I've done some of the Kane magic workings. Some of the first stuff I delved into. I know. I remember back in the day, Michael W. Ford had some stuff in there. Now, some of the last Kane magic that I've done is through the Temple of the Ascendant Flame. So I have done some work with it. Actually, people have asked to maybe do a class on that. So that's something that has come up. All right, take a couple more. I'm going to wrap this up. All right, here's a good one. I got to take this one. Devon Kerr says, what's your thoughts about semen retention? Now, it's funny because Michael Kelly in his book Apophis refers to it as a form of sex magic. You say, what? How's that? It deals with sexual energy and the sexual current. So there's two ways. I can give you my take on it. Retaining your semen retention can be a powerful way of charging your orgasm. Obviously, in the retention process, there is a magical aspect of empowering the semen, especially if you're doing that for sex magic or sex magical rituals, right? So yes, it has its place, but it should never just be done abstinence or celibacy shouldn't just be done on a forced methodology where you're struggling to do it and you're just doing it for some spiritual awareness or heightenedness, which I see people do it for that on more lesser paths, and it's more uh, new age based philosophy. They got their ideas on it. Hey, if that's it, long story short, as long as there's a specific intent to achieve a goal for results that's going to transform you, it does have a place in the arena of sex magic. And I referred Michael Kelly's book Apophis because he's actually got exercises in there dealing with completely doing rituals, literally, where you bring yourself to orgasm as many times as you can to the point you can't no more. And then he has retention rituals. And it's dealing with the 7 heads of Leviathan, which gets into something else, which I've talked about that in previous class. I don't have time to get into all that now. But long story short, to your question, it is a spiritual practice, and it does have a place on this path, depending on how it's used, right? So not sure why you were asking it. If you were asking it in regards to that, or maybe another reason, I don't know. But I know it can be used on this path to empower your semen, empower an orgasm, and heighten a spiritual ritual. So there is magic in that, and it is utilized to a degree on this path. Yes. All right, what else we got? Will Knight, appreciate the happy belated birthday. Yeah, and if I didn't say it, I know I said it on the other platforms. I know it was my first time coming on here since my birthday. So let me tell you, I want to thank everybody that reached out to me last week. I couldn't get back to all you guys. I know you guys sent me emails. You guys DM me through Instagram. You posted on the walls on Instagram and Facebook. And so if I didn't get back to you personally, it's not because I don't care. It's just it's impossible to get back to all of you guys. But I do appreciate all the birthday blessings and all the birthday love and energy you sent this way. Much appreciated it. So if I didn't thank you, you didn't get a personal thank you back. I'm thanking you now. Okay. Thank you very much. Oh shit, Lisa Cult Jam. That was my shit. We're going to 80s freestyle. Stevie B. Oh shit. Lisa Cult Jam. Oh man, you're leaving out what's his name? I considered Planet Patrol freestyle. Johnny O. Man, we can get a few of the freestyle joints. That was the shit back in the day. Freestyle had a heavy run in the 80s. TKA, you got to throw TKA in there. They became, they turned into a rap group later, Swing Batter Swing. What was the name of that? They changed their name later. When the freestyle joint went out, they changed up a little, tried to get into the hip hop game. They tried to do that New Jack Swing later. But man, Stevie B was the man. Man, I used to love me some Stevie B back in the day. I had a crush on Lisa as a kid, man. My God, head to toe, all them jams. That's the jams. Yeah, you know what? We got to bring that up a little bit, Taj, even though technically it's not hip hop, but it was part of that era, man. I remember freestyle was big back in the day around the way, man. Big shit. Planet Patrol, classic album, man. Planet Patrol is classic. If you guys haven't heard, I mean, you guys all know Play at Your Own Risk, I'm sure. But listen to that whole album. They were off the chains. Oh, man. Trying to think of that other girl group. Shannon. Can't forget her. There's a couple of them popping in my head. Come Go With Me. I can't think of that girl group. They were freestyle. They saying, come go with me. Damn, what's the name of that group? Somebody help me out. I saw them perform live. It was a group of girls. They were 3. Their main hit was Come Go With Me. I can't think of the name of the artist. I'm just fucking drawing a blank. Now you got me thinking, you shifted my whole brain function to a freestyle artist. But yeah, freestyle was a shit back in the day, man. That was a shit back in the day. Had its run for that few year period. Cynthia, there's another one. Lil Susie. Okay, throw some joints out there. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, I'm familiar with all those artists, man. I got one for you. He was like a one-hit wonder, Timmy T. He's kind of low key. Yeah, they came out with some crazy shit back in the day, in a good way. Good stuff. Yeah, yo. So you went to Catholic high school, 7th to 12th. Shit, I went 1st to 8th. I got kicked out in 8th grade. I got kicked out of Catholic school. Long story. Healers Playground said, my your BD. I don't know if that's your boyfriend. I don't know if that's. Maybe I got it wrong. But anyway, died by suicide. We knew he had an issue, but his mom and other people said he was fine. They didn't take it seriously. Yeah, man. Sorry to hear that. Really am. You know, and sometimes immediate family and people around them can be in denial. You know, I'm not saying that was the case here, you know, but they can be in denial, unfortunately. You know, it is fucked up. It's not a pretty thing. I don't take it lightly. It's, yeah, you know, I'm sure there's a lot of us, yourself, myself, and others in here. We've been affected by it. It's real. It exists. It's, you know, suicidal thoughts and depression and all. It's a silent killer, man. It's a silent killer because most people, you just don't know the full extent of it. Yeah, it's fucked up. That's the way it is, man. But yeah, sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. But Will Knife says the name Jordan Maxwell sounds familiar. I'd have to look into it further. The name rings a bell, so I don't want to speak on it because I'm not sure at the moment. So I don't want to give false, but I will. The name definitely rings a bell. I've seen and heard it somewhere. And I agree with your second comment, Will. Never let your pride stop you. I love that. I love that. Never let your pride stop you from asking for help. And that's another problem why some people don't reach out for help because of that right there, the pride, or they're embarrassed, or they don't know how to. It's a struggle for them to even do it, right? So I like that, man. All right, Woke Mob, I'll definitely look for the email. All right. Yeah, those are the jams, man. Yeah, Gil's, man, I don't know the name. I'm sorry. Send me an email, Gil Skleplios. Appreciate it. Yeah, be interesting. I haven't gotten a reading from somebody in years. That'd be interesting. All right. Daddy-O. Uh-oh. I'm thinking of Daddy-O from Stetson Sonic. That's the first thing that popped in my mind. Expose. There you go. Thank you, William. Expose. How could I forget that, man? I used to love Expose. That's it. Come go with me. I played the shit out of that song. That's when we had tapes. The tape deck. Remember, we'd talk about it. I used to take the tapes, the labels, and used to label them. The Jam tape, volume 1. We used to put some funny ass shit on our tapes. Mega Mix, Part 3. I used to carry a bag. I used to have a bag of tapes. I used to have the Jam Pack backpack. I used to carry my Walkman everywhere I went on the train. Shit. And then, if you got, two of my boys, my boy George and Brian, they got cars. They were a year ahead of us. So they all got cars before we did. So we used to have to carry tapes on the regular with them too, because, back then, boy, tape deck in the car, you had to drive around with the windows down. Being a wintertime, fucking driving around in New York is fucking 15 degrees and we got the window down because we're playing music, freezing our ass off. But man, I miss them days, man. We used to sitting in White Castle to the wee hours, 24 hours. We'd be in there fucking snapping on each other. After, we used to have fun, man. We did simple things, kept us entertained back in the day, man. We used to have a blast. We used to hang out all night, chill. If it was a basement party, backyard party in the summer, house party. Yeah, we did the club thing, but backyard parties in the summer, basement parties and house parties, that was the thing we did on the weekends. You get dressed up and geared up. Somebody was throwing a house party.
Then after that, we usually leave and drive to somewhere like White Castle. We'd be up in that joint till 3 o'clock in the morning. Get a case, strawberry shake, some fries. Back in when you're young, man, you could polish that shit off. It don't affect you. I mean, it'd be 3 or 4 of us. We get a whole case, knock that shit out like it's nothing. But when we did the basement parties and the house parties, I don't even know if people do it. We used to get a keg. We used to go get kegs. Just put the kegs out, big ass boom box, Mr. Magick's on the radio, Molly Mall, DJ Red Alert. Shit, that was our DJ, man. And we had live DJs too, but when we just threw a house party together real quick, like I was saying on a previous show, back then, you only were able to hear rap on the weekends. You can only get your hip hop on the weekend on shows like that. Friday and Saturday, 8 to 12, that was it. They didn't play shit on the radio mainstream. Like, nah, I don't even want to call what they played today rap. I don't want to get into that, Taja, right? We don't want to get into that. I don't want people thinking I'm coming off as a grumpy old head, but I can't listen to the ippity-dippity-doo, hippity-dippity-dup, and the mumble rap and the trap music and drill rap, whatever they calling this shit. Look, I'm not trying to, I don't want nobody to take it personal. You could probably listen to our shit and some of the younger guys, oh, that's whack. I can't listen to that new shit. I'm sorry. I don't even want to sugarcoat it. I don't want to lie to myself, and I don't want to lie to you guys. It doesn't exist in my world. I don't play it. I can't listen to it. I couldn't even tell you the name of artist. I can hear shit and people driving around playing it. They all sound the same to me. All that shit sounds the same. Everybody sound the same. If it's not that, everybody want to be Drake with the sing-along rapping. That shit be killing me. Dude break it down hardcore, and then he just bust in the song. That shit be killing me, man. It's like, what the fuck? But anyway. All right, last one here, and we're going to wrap it. We were talking about Obia last night. I've always been drawn to nature from childhood. Been walking around uninitiated ether for 6 years, but I knew better than to join a house. Now, Obia, my higher self, has been preparing me for this step. That's good to hear. I don't know if you were talking also about Obia, the spiritual system. We had a good conversation on that last night in class with Tata and everybody that was there. All right, listen, people. It's been real. Again, I'm going to try to get on here a little more often. I know I keep saying that. Maybe do shorter classes. This technically, to me, is a short class, 2.5 hours. I know some of you guys it's not. I was thinking like coming on a couple of times, we're doing an hour and a half, but it's hard for me to just do an hour and a half because shit be coming up. But anyway, look, I want to thank you guys again for all the birthday wishes. Got a lot of good things coming up. Check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. Tier 3 is the way to go. That's how you can stay in line with what I'm doing privately with everybody 3 times a month. That gives you access to 3 classes every month live. If you choose to come in live, or if you can't get there live, everything is recorded and archived. So I want to let everybody know, everything on Patreon I do is archived. So if you join today, you have access to the day, all the material, the first day the channel started, okay? So I just want you guys to keep that in mind. So maybe I got to clarify, because some people think, oh, you just joined and it's just the live classes and that's it. And if you're not there, you miss it. No, you get access to all of the archived material. So from day one the channel starts, there's a couple hundred classes on there. Literally, no exaggeration. There's material on there. You think I got a lot on there. Between my YouTube and that, there's material to keep you occupied for the next 50 years. And that's not even an exaggeration. There's tons of material on there. But the only difference with there that you're not getting here, I'm showing you how to do ritual work in those classes. Okay, that's the big difference. We talk a little bit more, we talk a little bit more in depth. We don't really hold back. You have to be careful on YouTube and social media now with algorithms and trigger words and all that. But the difference there is you're getting hands-on techniques of how to work magic. And that's the beauty of the Patreon page. And then if you can get, if you get there live, then you can fellowship with other people you get to see other people, and we talk, we have good builds. So highly check it out. If you need to reach out to me, you got the emails right there at the bottom, khnum19@gmail.com. If you're interested in a spiritual reading or a consultation, hit me up. Journey of the Black Adam Conference. Hopefully the next time I come on, I'll have the exact dates. Hopefully we can get to see some of your new people down here in October. I know already some of you have reached out. You will be there. We have a couple of returning people I know are returning. I think 2 new people. I will get the information. We're going to get it all together. We should have more detailed dates of our 4-day event, which will be down here in Hollywood, South Florida. We have a fun time. It's a spiritual time. It's a fun time. And then you'll get to see another side of us. We like to clown around and hang out. So if you don't like to clown around, you don't like going out to eat, dancing, and just kicking it, you don't want to come down here. It's just not for you. We do a little clowning around down here, But anyway, all right. I appreciate all you guys. Thank you for supporting the YouTube channel, Patreon, and all the social media platforms. I'll talk to you guys soon. Be safe. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Infernal blessings.